Hey, muchacho. What's going on, brother?
I am doing good.
And
I am especially looking
slowly.
forward.
I don't want you to choke on me.
So I don't want to. No, I've swallowed a nut, but no one's home. Yeah, no, I've. Yeah, yeah. Always get us on these subjects of Kirby, and I kind of like. Yeah, I'm very happy to talk.
Yeah, man. And fashionably late as always, the one and only.
As always.
Gotta
Hey,
you know.
the dramatic entrance. How are you guys today?
Alrighty, brother.
Good.
All the way from the Buse cave.
Buse, Chris, Chris, I sincerely hope you're going to be late for your funeral.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. I'm working on it. Let me get a smoke. Let's talk Kirby today.
And the specific Kirby, for sure. And shout out Captain Bud Kirby. Is definitely a New Gods episode.
Great.
Captain,
great. Excellent.
And that's exactly what we're talking about today, folks. Kirby's New Gods, the whole, that fourth world that he brought on.
5 hours.
To DC.
5 hours. 5 hours. We're going to crack the 5 hours today.
They're going to moderate my pace. So yeah, guys. So everything good with you, right, my brother?
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
So we gotta jump into this that way. So this is in fact giant size.
Oh, let me open this one as well. If I look to the, what is that, right side, left side? I don't know. It's because I have the presentation here on my other PC as well, Mac PC as well.
Same here. Oh my God.
Oh God, we have sounds. We have sounds. Hello, guys.
Hey, shout out to that copy right there.
Where does it Bildschirm? Here we go. That's it. Yes.
All right, so let me go to my share screen mode.
Oh, we already got some people commenting. Dave Elliott has commented.
Who's he? Get it off.
May the source be with you. Yep.
Oh yeah, let me remove the overlay too, because they're covering.
Hey.
Yeah,
I'm covered. I'm too ugly. Covered.
There we are, guys. All right.
Thank you.
So just you tell me, because who got the first dibs on the beginning here?
That's Dave.
All right, Dave.
Dave is starting.
But this is Chris's suggestion. Like, not that I needed any prompting on this one.
I noticed. Busy with working on my book, first book plug. And said, Dave said, what shall we do? Oh, I said, Kirby, New Gods, done deal. Here you go.
Hey, shout out to Dave Johnson. He was preteen when Kirby left Marvel. He was preteen, right?
Yeah, I was preteen.
I suppose, yeah. So was I. Yeah. That's how long ago it was. I was preteen. Yeah. A dinosaur like me.
Oh,
Jesus.
Man, did they have cars then?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I got my comics on horseback.
We already had the Autobahn. See how that works?
The comics mule train.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so
across those villages in North England.
So we're gonna bring it in, and up first, of course, is the one and only.
All right,
Jimmy.
So let's just put. All right, so let's just put it in context then. Jack Kirby leaves Marvel for DC. He's offered Superman, which he won't take because of he knew that it puts Kurt Swan out of off one of his titles.
Exactly. What a great guy. I mean, what a great guy.
Yeah, but he took Jimmy Olsen, which is a Superman light book, but still quite popular.
Oh, it was in the top 5. Just to put that into perspective.
So
gangbusters.
Yeah, so it's not like he wasn't taking a decent title. Like I think it's one of those things historically. We look back and it's a lot of our preferences because we're older and more mature. It's always
so they say.
Well, I mean, there's no way Jimmy Olsen was going to be a Vertigo book. And so we do tend to, like a lot of the readers today tend to sort of, they're older, and they're looking for sort of more adult, older fare, but that wasn't the time in the 1960s. But I was very tempted to include a couple of pages of like the previous couple of issues of Jimmy Olsen, just so that you could see like the change, like it must have been like being hit by a bus.
There was a night and day change to the title.
Oh yeah, I mean, I bought as a kid. I think either I bought, probably more likely my mum had bought them for me. A couple of a few Jimmy Olsens and a giant-sized Jimmy Olsen with those, the old Turtle Boy and Elastic Lad and giant Jimmy Olsen and stuff like that. And it was fun read for when you're in your pre-teens. But yeah, and look,
an announcement.
Well, yeah, I mean,
what we should also what we should also mention is that you think, oh, DC was ready to take Kirby, and Kirby could have gone to DC anytime. I mean, just a little bit history there. Kirby had been fired from DC in the 50s. He had been working on Green Arrow and on Challenges of the Unknown in the late 50s. And he ran afoul of an editor here that they had there, Jack Schiff. He had a royalty deal worked out. And long story short, Jack Schiff wielded a lot of power and said, oh, let's get rid of that Kirby guy. Kirby went to DC, created the Marvel Universe, or co-created. Leave that to the imagination of our listeners. And it has been a discussion on Twitter lately, because I posted something. If you want to go into my Twitter feed, there's been a book out that says, well, Stan basically did nothing. And Roy Thomas came in and said, that's also not true. So anyway, Jack is at Marvel. Then he gets frustrated at Marvel. Carmen Infantino, meanwhile, rises through the ranks at DC. And people forget how good Carmen Infantino as an artist was. I mean, his early stuff on the 40s, on Flash in the 50s, stellar artwork. And he was the art director, moved to the ranks. I'm not really sure. I have to look it up if he was already the publisher when he brought Kirby over, but Jack Schiff had left. That was the main thing. Jack Schiff had retired. And Jack Schiff had been fired of Batman, and he was basically losing a lot of power. That was when Jules Schwartz took Batman over. So eventually, Carmen Infantino has the power, and DC is at that time already owned by Warner Communications, and they say, whoever that Jack Kirby guy is bringing over, who cares? So basically, Jack Kirby comes to DC, 1970, 71, the first ads appear. Kirby is coming, only very little in the original. And if you go to the original books, it's only a little sidebar, Kirby is coming, Kirby's coming. And then you got these full-page ads all of a sudden.
Yeah, this is crazy. Yeah. I mean, it's like, the great one. They knew, that's showing some appreciation and love to the man right there. Though.
This is rockstar marketing here. That's rockstar marketing. This is like, yeah.
Well, this is without even mentioning him.
Yeah.
This is just teasing that he's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Naughty folks.
Yeah. Now, what I wanted, before we get into Jimmy Olsen, what I loved about his run on Jimmy Olsen was he really jumped in and was determined to not only change Jimmy Olsen as a character, but he was world building. And the world building he did in pretty much the 2 years that the Fourth World existed for was incredible. Like, he contributed more in those 2 years, I would say, that almost any other creator had delivered in 10. Yeah, I mean, you look at the team, like we talked last time about Batman, but that was Bob Kane, Bill Finger, Jerry Robinson, Dick Sprang. That was a whole slew of people who, over the years, built up his rogues gallery, built up who the Batman was, you know, his social life, everything. Jack Kirby did this in 2 years.
Insane.
Yeah,
That's crazy. Yeah.
so he is one of 5 short 2-page stories that ran in Jimmy Olsen. And these were mostly related to, well, virtually all related to the project, the big project, this government organization underneath Metropolis.
The DNA
project. Yeah, the DNA project. And this massive corporation, well, I suppose it probably would be now a corporation rather than government run. But it was this, like, and not only did it say this is what you're to expect, this is what is here now. The information is this has been here for a long time. Like they've been doing this work for years, and Kirby is only just telling you about it now, and he does it in such a way that it fits right in with everything they're doing. It's all top secret.
And if you think this is balls to the walls crazy, I mean, this is the same time when the CIA was conducting the LSD-based experiments with soldiers, where they're feeding them LSD to see if they had any paranormal activity powers. The Russians were doing this too. So we are talking about this stuff happening in our world too. Yeah,
but it's Kirby putting everything in here. Like, you know, you've got biker gangs, you've got conspiracy theories, you've got aliens, everything. Everything you could imagine, but it's just here. This is all just backstory. Like, no one ever, like, none of these. You'd think, like, all of these little 2 pages could have led to something amazing, but no one's ever touched on them. No one's ever. It's like, it's amazing. It's like what he did in 2 pages to establish characters and ideas, and yet no one's gone back to this.
Just look at this panel. The first.
Hey, Josh.
Hello, Josh. Look at this panel there on the last panel on the first page, where he's touching the hand of the robot, of the android. I mean, this is so amazing. It's so powerful.
Yeah, and this is it's a recurring. It's something that I'm used to seeing in Kirby's work, which is that connection between. It's like father and child, like creator. It's like we saw it much later on in Machine Man. You kind of almost saw it in OMAC.
Yeah.
Machine Man here. Look, you know.
Yes.
And you can track the core of the DNA project back to Alarming Tales. Which is now public domain. There's a short story called The Cadmus Seed, which the project was called, the project in Jim Olsen was actually called Project Cadmus.
Yeah.
And so that was actually a tie-in to a story from Alarming Tales where, men were grown from seeds into these new men that could do sports, work as soldiers, all these different fronts. And that was a 5-page story back in late 50s, early 1960s. And so look, here's, Jimmy Olsen. Who'd think today that Jimmy Olsen would be sort of hailed as a blockbuster like this? Now.
Hey, but look at that. That is a dope cover. That does bring some attention. Like, what's going on here? I mean, poor Superman's crotch is exactly where you hit him, right in the nuts. I don't think Kryptonite could help, whether he's still a man, ain't he? In a sense.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's still a man.
We need to ask Lois about that.
Hey, bro, getting on over your balls like that is kind of insane, bro.
But we also get to see
was there a
here
statement there from Kirby, though? I'm sorry. Do you think Kirby
concerning Superman?
Yeah.
Well, there's actually, I didn't pull this, but there's actually, if you go to the original comics, there's actually a conversation with Kirby, where they interview Kirby.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was wish I had that video. Would have shown it. Next time you gotta add some video. All right, that's next, folks. We're getting better. Don't worry. All right.
But you can also see here in the first cover of the first issue what a lot of Kirby fans have always kind of moaned about is Superman was redrawn. And to try to make him look like the traditionals, the Kurt Swan version, it was so much of the a lot of the re-inking and redrawing was actually done by Al Plastino and Murphy Anderson. And it shows, and it's kind of like it has an odd feel. I mean, for the time, I remember reading these and like loving them. To be honest, I didn't notice. I was just engrossed in the stories.
Yeah.
But you can also see on the see this is you can see that the image on the left was Kirby's original version, and I'm pretty sure Carmine was like, yeah, that's not quite doing it for us. We need to have Superman a bit more prominent. And again, like Carmine Infantino was a fantastic designer, a cover designer. So I think he must have worked. It must have been good for Kirby, because even I think Kirby himself has mentioned, and I think through Mark Evanier, that he never really saw himself as a cover artist. It was, cover went on the comic.
Yeah,
that's what he had to do. He preferred telling the stories inside. And I think this is a really good example.
I like the cover. It's pretty hot. Wow.
Oh yeah, no, it's great. But you can imagine, but you see as this is the first issue with Kirby on, you can imagine and Superman's in there. You want Superman to clearly be prominent, and rather than being kicked to the side, being hit on full front. So that's why we've got that double back, sort of bent back Superman figure.
I see.
I think.
Got it.
Well, I think must be so surreal. I mean, look at this cover. It says Kirby is here on the cover. That's the first time this has ever happened.
Yeah.
That's the time you don't put the artist on the book. Nowadays we have the artist, the inker, the colorist, everybody's on the book. It took us a long time. This is the first time we have the artist on the book, by name.
Yeah.
And well deserved.
Yep. Neil Adams must have been upset because he wasn't getting that.
Yeah.
Look at that, and nice and prominent, written and drawn by Jack Kirby. So small, Vince Coletta.
Yep.
Yeah, but what's also interesting when we come to the later stuff, it always says inked with precision by Mike Royer. There's none of that Stan selling nonsense. This is all by Jesse Mike or something like that. It's always inked and lettered with precision by Mike Royer, giving the people respect.
Yeah. So straight off here, what we've got is Jimmy Olsen not looking. He already that the Dickie bow tie is gone. That's gone. The tweed jacket, that's gone. He's looking hip for 1970. He's looking pretty hip, and he's meeting the Newsboy Legion for the first time.
Oh man, look at this.
Yep. Again,
it's fantastic for a car, apparently.
Well, again, it's Kirby. It's a Kirby car. There was a Fantastic Four Kirby car. This is the Jimmy Olsen Kirby car. Yeah, everybody at some point gets a Kirby car.
Yeah, man. Because everybody got their own little dome and gets the bounce too.
Green Arrow had a Kirby car as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Kirby cars are hot, man. I want to see. Imagine this though. This will drive people batshit crazy. This is as big as a Hummer.
Oh yeah. Well, twice as big as a Hummer.
You could make this actually. I mean, you could actually make this. Elon Musk, get on it.
There you go. See, well, I'd say I was going to say I'd buy one, but no, I wouldn't be able to afford to. But I'd buy the toy version. I'd get the Hot Wheels version.
I'll get
Now,
Morgan Edge, my man.
Yeah. So not only did I mean, this wasn't the first appearance of Morgan Edge in the DC universe, but Morgan Edge, again, I haven't heard anything. I'd always presumed, and I may be wrong, so if anybody out there knows better, I kind of feel that Kirby invented Morgan Edge.
I think so too.
Because he's the one who really used him. But I believe they introduced him a few months earlier into Superman. Now, that would have also already been when Jack Kirby was working with them and already turning in the first pages.
Gotcha.
And he's such a pivotal person. And I mean, look, he owns the Daily Planet. So, and for Kirby to have such a free hand with the character, I can only presume he created him.
I think what always gets forgotten is that there's actually 5 books in this Fourth World cycle, because it also ties in with Lois Lane. And there's stories about the world Kirby created with Morgan Edge and Lois Lane, and as we later learn, Morgan Edge has been switched out by Darkseid, so Darkseid also appears in Lois Lane. And it's never brought up in the same breath as the Kirby books, because it's not by Kirby, but it's makes use of this world. It's so interesting.
There is a reference. There's a reference in one of the issues of Jimmy Olsen to a concurrent storyline in Superman as well. So there were little seeds. There were little seeds being planted, but at this time, this was new for DC. Like what Kirby was building was a mythology and a shared continuity happening through 4 books. There wasn't any of that in any DC comic.
At the time.
So this was such So this was a first for them. Now, what this also does, this page here and this sequence, the reason I included it is Morgan Edge wants to get rid of Clark Kent. Clark Kent's a nosy bastard. Wants to get his nose out of it. So he arranges for him. And again, this is this is where they first start mentioning Intergang, a big part of the Fourth World as far as the gangster side of it. And it also shows. Oh, thanks, Captain. Yeah. Here we have it shows a very this is for it doesn't seem overly dark when you read this sequence, but think about it from the time. The previous issue of Jimmy Olsen would have had nothing like this. Now all of a sudden the person who owns the Daily Planet is arranging for Clark Kent to be killed. He's arranging him to be run over. He survives.
Of course, he's Superman.
Yep. But again, it's like this is slowly. This is the okay. He clearly never liked Morgan Edge at all ever, but this is what's making him start to suspect that he's not.
There's a lot more here going on.
Yeah.
What in the world?
Now so again, this is supposed to be not far out of Metropolis or very near Metropolis, and all of a sudden we've got the Whiz Wagon, the Jimmy Olsen Kirby machine, drops down, and we get the first hint of the wild area and the bikers that inhabit it there. And again, this is just like this. See, one of the things I was going to mention before we even started was a lot of people talk about, oh, wow, how was Kirby going to finish the Fourth World Saga? And that's valid, but I don't think he was thinking about finishing it. I think he was creating new books that were going to go on. And I think we were still only getting, we never got 12. We kind of got 12 issues of the New Gods. But this is Jack only just seeding everything. These were all meant to tie in later. These were all going to tie in later. We were going to see more of these characters and more of these worlds. But he was also, he also knew he'd worked at Marvel. He knew that, he was hoping that these characters and these worlds would start to proliferate and go through other titles. But I mean, it's just like I just love the way that Kirby's always tried to be cool. Like he's he's being hip. It's like, as Chris, I'm sure, will talk with the Forever people. It's like he's in the wild area. I mean, Morgan Edge says he's sending Jimmy Olsen and the Newsboy Legion there because they're not going to listen to anyone over the age of 25.
Gotcha. Check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is like, again, like if you're, I keep about, it's like if you were reading Jimmy Olsen at the time and you've got on this, like your head's going to be spinning. And I can imagine, I think in some of the letters pages later on, there were some people who were going like, oh my God, no, I hate this. Please take us back to where we were. And I bet I would imagine all of those people years later were going like, I can't believe how great that stuff was.
What in the world? What are they, beavers?
That's in the Habitat. That's a place called the Habitat in the wild area. That's basically where all the hippies live, all the hippie bikers live. And then the whiz wagon, like, look at this. They go, the whiz wagon leads the bikers, and they go they plow straight for a cliff, and it tears, and it's just a facade. They're inside the project now. Like we're still on the first issue. This is the first issue of Jimmy Olsen.
Nice.
We've got Morgan Edge. We've got this whole new world. We've got completely different Jimmy Olsen. He's reintroduced the Newsboy Legion, and they're in this crazy indoor biker circuit. And look, if you look in the second panel, some of those bikers aren't making it. Like they're not coming back. This is like, wow, this is exciting. This is death. And again, like, where's this? This must have been like, for the average DC reader, this must have been a shock. And then, of course, and in comes Superman.
What?
And we meet the Harris that we saw in the DNA project. The Mountain of Judgment. That you can imagine, like a car that's called the Mountain of Judgment.
I mean, if you look at this had to have a big influence on George Miller for Mad Max.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly what I see.
I mean, who didn't this influence? And of course, as soon as they get on board, the Harris are like, okay, quick, pull that thing apart. We've got to discover what's on it. There's a bomb in the whiz wagon. How did that get there? But they defuse it. And here we have the very last page of the first issue of Jimmy Olsen with the first published appearance of Darkseid. And of course, Vinnie Coletta's not really kind of, he probably, I don't know if he'd seen any other artwork from the New Gods at this point, but that's his version of inking Darkseid, and the colorist is like, must be flesh colored.
Yep.
There's a lot of coloring mistakes or things that needed corrections in a lot of the first Kirby issues. But yeah. Now for the next few issues, Kirby doesn't get to draw his own covers. It's like like Neil Adams comes in, and Neil Adams is doing the covers.
Those are dope covers, though.
Yeah, I mean the cover at the moment with all the little Supermen, that's actually a false cover, as that's nothing to do with the story inside. Oh, sorry. All I was going to say is they do have little. We see little versions of the Newsboy Legion, but we don't see little mini Superman flying around.
Well, what's so interesting is if you look at this. Hi there. It's a very, very sleek style, Neil Adams. It's that new 70s very sleek style, and you have this very roughly hued Kirby style. It's completely contrast.
Yeah, completely.
But if you look at this is a very attractive cover. but it's also a little bit blend at the same time. You've seen that many times. If you go to the Kirby art, it's exploding. It's very rough, it's raw, it's interesting. I much more prefer Kirby's art style here, especially here. This is not a very good cover, by the way. This is not Neil Adams' best
Jolly
work.
Green Giant comes to DC.
But you can see that he's like here at least he's trying to be a little bit more dynamic, more Kirby-esque.
Yeah, he's a little bit more Kirby-esque. I see that. Yeah.
But Superman should open it and try to eat his green beans. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hey Al,
Yes, sir.
Rand mentioned you're a little hard to hear.
Yeah, I was a little away from the mic. Sorry.
Hey, we want to hear you, man. We really do. So here's now
his toy collection.
Yeah. Now here is Kirby and Adams together, and they work together beautifully.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun. This cover.
Yeah, that looks great. It's one of my favorite Jimmy Olsen covers.
Oh, this is.
And this one too.
Gorgeous.
But again, it's like the
What?
I-
Oh yeah, look from before. Awesome.
the forearm terror. Yeah. Now see, yeah. And again, it's like, so what happens here is, okay, we've got the project, we have the Newsboy Legion. Darkseid's really not having a presence here other than sort of the Morgan Edge aspect of it, the intergang. This issue, we get to find out where the Darkseid faction is in their area, shall we say. And that's the Evil Factory. And they're turning out forearm terrors. Oh, and this I love this because not only is it very, very like Zen, like, oh, let's all meditate, let's all like chill. It leads to a great Kirby photo montage sequence. Like the Kirby montages that we saw so many times in like the Fantastic Four and Thor, he brings to Jimmy Olsen, and here we go.
Yeah, this is very, very much an influence of Bill Sienkiewicz, I think. If you look at his New Mutants work, it's had to have an influence on Bill Sienkiewicz.
Oh man, look at that!
Great.
You're in the huddle,
great.
bro. You're in the huddle with this.
Wow.
This is great.
But that's a splash page, and it's like, yeah, but it tells a story. This is the page where Jimmy Olsen basically becomes the leader of the Newsboy Legion.
But you would think with him being so up forward and present above them, like my attention is drawn to him immediately. Like, okay, what's going on here? But this is so great.
Oh yeah, but it's in one panel in a splash page. It's okay. We need to vote on who's becoming the leader of the Newsboy Legion, and okay. And Jimmy Olsen says, "Well, if you vote for me, I'm in." And they vote for him, but it's all done in one splash page. So it's not a waste. It's not like it's just, yeah. And here we go back. So here we have this monster. And again, it's like, this isn't Superman. This is an issue of Superman. This is Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah.
And we've got this monster. He's tearing apart the city, and he's getting close to the project. Here we have the habitat where the outsiders live, and
so 70s, bro, for real.
Oh yeah, yeah.
There you go, Superman getting snuffed, getting held down and beat up by the same person.
Oh yeah. No, he's getting beaten up big time.
His curl doesn't even move.
That's his secret power.
Yep. It's actually tattooed onto his forehead.
Yeah, back then, probably fine on that. Not like that lady that used the Gorilla Glue the other day. So here's the gang behind the Evil Factory, and they know where everything is. Like, they've got a map of the wild area, the project, Metropolis, and because they know where the generators are that powers the project, they're creating these monsters to go in there and destroy their power plant
which will in turn blow up Metropolis. And this
So
is
the
all
stakes are high. The stakes are high.
Oh yeah, this is the big boom. But again, like this is all happening in a Jimmy Olsen comic. This is
fun stuff.
Yeah.
Who
And
would think though? So just by looking at the title, most people would be probably Jimmy Olsen. Huh?
No, but see that as Chris has pointed out several times in the past, Jimmy Olsen was a big seller then.
Yeah, crazy from you.
Yeah. Now here's what that monster does, the Four-Armed Terror does, is it encloses the Newsboy Legion and Superman in basically an egg that they can't get out of. And here's the idea of here's Kirby introducing a potential other power for Superman by using he's found another way for Superman to use his abilities to get them out of this situation by vibrating so basically creating a static shock with his hands. A super static shock.
A kind of Flash move, if you will.
Yeah.
Very cool. Look at that. Look how forward he is.
Oh yeah, dynamic. I mean, at this time, this was almost the third Superman title. I mean, yes, Jimmy Olsen was prominent. Yes, Jimmy Olsen would be telling the story, but Superman was very prominent here.
Yes, he was.
And here's Morgan Edge knowing that Metropolis is potentially about to be blown to pieces, and him ducking out and leaving everybody behind.
What a scumbag! Hey, everybody, have a good weekend. What a scumbag!
Yep.
Look at this guy. And the way he's drawn too, you think he's a cool dude, and he's not.
Yep.
Oh man!
And of course, what is this? The Golden Guardian's back, but there's a nice touch here in that. What we get is Jimmy Olsen and Newsboy Legion are totally sulking. They know that Superman's just saved the day, and they're just sulking. They're like, "Oh man!" It's just like, "Why didn't you include us? You left us out of the action." Possibly he saved their lives, but
so a question here is: how long was the Guardian out of comics, or Fights Again? He was only out for a week. You know what I mean?
No, he was out from the 1940s.
Oh, wow.
He was gone from the 1940s. Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, again, it was a Kirby creation from the 1940s. He brought the Newsboy Legion back, which again will later be revealed as they're actually all clones of their parents. The real Newsboy Legion are actually running the project itself. And because of their love for the Guardian was the one who kept them alive when they were in the 1940s in Suicide Slum. So they resurrected him. They cloned him. And here's a very useful cutaway so we can actually see, we can see where the project is, where the zoom way is. All very convenient for us to clip out and save for a later date.
Oh, nice. Look at this.
Yep.
And I see look out the DNA aliens.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay.
No, Kirby was firing on all cylinders on this.
Yeah, he was.
I mean, he had so many ideas, literally, busting out. Oh.
Iconic cover. Don Rickles, rest in peace too, man.
No, yeah, but now these two issues that had Don Rickles in, and also his the long lost Goody Rickles. There's quite an interesting story behind this, because apparently Don Rickles didn't remember actually giving permission to actually use him in the comic, and he would and if he did, he probably thought, well, they were just going to use his, he'll be in it for one panel, just a little image.
Yeah.
They used him on the cover of both issues for 2 issues and made him a character in the story.
Son. There you go. Look at the other one. Oh, man.
Yep.
Oh, and here's where we get the story that you just mentioned about the Newsboy Legion.
Yep.
Where we find out?
Well, remember, this is when DC Comics had, because they'd added 10 cents to the cover price, they added backup stories. So that was a reprint.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it was a reprint of the 1940s or even 30s.
And look at this wonderful bar up there. Kirby says, "Don't ask, buy it." That's very Stan Lee, actually.
But this is Jimmy Olsen. But now, yeah, it's Light Ray. It's like there's a he's seeding. He's letting you know about the new gods. He's letting you know how they're all tied into one another, because at this point, Clark Kent's been tricked into a spaceship that's headed to Apocalypse to be killed by Darkseid. Well, Light Ray interferes, and Nice is kind enough to actually send him back on his way.
Is that Rickles again?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, but he looks just like him. That's crazy.
Yep. And if you just the conversation, those two panels of conversation between Don Rickles, Morgan Edge is secretary, and Morgan Edge, those two panels, great dialogue. Anyone who says like Kirby can't write, those two panels, amazing. Like they just built this so character building in two panels. Like, and look at Morgan Edge's reaction in that panel. It's just like, right. When Don Rickles says, talk dirty to me, he goes, money, lots of it.
That's so brilliant. This is so brilliant.
Yeah. So here's another Jack Kirby, Neil Adams collaboration. I say collaboration because, and it's funny that Jack Kirby's name is the only name on the cover. The Superman figure has been repenciled by Jack from his original version of the cover, and then basically redrawn by Neil Adams, as well as Neil doing the inks on the rest of the cover. But yeah, and here's another one. But this, again, like these two issues, like you've got Dracula, Frankenstein, and the Wolfman living on a universal monsters planet that's in someone's basement, like an entire planet in Dabney Donovan's basement. Like, geez, I mean, it's amazing. It's like, we find out the Loch Ness monster is one of the monsters from the Evil Factory.
What a great! This needs to be on a wall type of label right there.
Mm-hmm. Very, very heavily inked by Murphy Anderson. This cover.
Yeah.
It is gorgeous, though.
Yeah.
And so wasn't he also in the DNA Brigadoon?
Who's? Oh, that's Angry Charlie.
Angry Charlie.
Yeah. Oh, he's great.
So
yep, and here's where the Evil Factory have experimented on Jimmy Olsen.
Now he's a caveman. Too fun.
Yep. Now this is Neil Adams and Murphy Anderson. Like I don't think that the only thing I can think of that's possibly Jack Kirby here is the flying figures at the flying around in the air at the top there. They're very Kirby-esque, but everything else there looks like it's Neil Adams and Murphy Anderson.
Yep. The robot from before. Cool.
No, it's not. It's not actually. This is. I didn't want to show too many pages from this sequence because I've done them before on the show.
Yeah.
But this is when we've talked about Superman. This is Superman where he goes to Supertown on New Genesis.
Oh, the Supertown. Okay.
Yeah. This is him going to a place where he's wanted to go there since Forever People #1. And here he gets there and he finds that he's not needed. It's like everybody's super powerful here. Everyone's got their own abilities. They don't need him. They don't need a Superman here. Yeah, and then he sits down. Yeah, he meets Highfather, but he doesn't know it's Highfather. He just sits down and this old guy just says, "Oh, come and sit down and have a chat." And Highfather sends him back to Earth.
Thank God he didn't say sit on my lap.
That would have been awkward.
Good American Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, check this out. Nice.
And then we're back to pure Neil Adams cover.
That is nice. I mean,
but this is the.
He was a hell of an artist.
Oh, it's a really nice cover. It's a beautiful cover. And unfortunately, it's the last issue that Jack Kirby's on Jimmy Olsen. This is the last one.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if you saw the next issue of Jimmy Olsen, this is a unused cover.
Look at this unused cover, folks. Unused.
Well, it was to the Big Bang. But if you saw the next issue of Jimmy Olsen, again, you would be like, if you just got into this, Jimmy Olsen was just getting used to it. The next couple of issues were like, what the fuck is this shit? So what you saw before, if you go back a shot, right? So that was Kirby's first version of the Big Bang cover, Big Boom cover. If you then now go forward, we've got the cover sketch, and then again move that forward. I just wanted to show, like, I thought it'd be nice to see some process. So that's one of Kirby's montages that actually became the background to that cover.
There you go.
And nice. then once you layer on the Kirby and Neil Adams Superman and Jimmy Olsen and the lettering, all it needs is the coloring.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the Big Boom. And yeah, I mean, again, it's don't be chicken. Read all about Doomsday.
Right.
Yeah, I honestly think there was probably a big part of the audience wasn't ready. The audience wasn't ready for that change in Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah.
But looking back on it now, it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's the before and after. And you can see the original version that Jack penciled.
Oh, I like the original better.
Yeah. Jack did actually repencil the Superman figure close to what Neil Adams drew. But what they did was they basically chopped it up a bit so that the Dracula pose becomes bigger. You can see that's more impressive, which I think does work. There's nothing wrong. I looked first that's the first version, and that would have been a great cover. But you look at the revised and final cover, and you have to give, like, whoever gave that nod to, like, do that, they made the right call. And I think
definitely.
And Jack isn't, I love Jack, and I love every scrap of artwork I've ever seen. I've loved for its own reasons. And it also, as a little Marvel moment, often Stan would be right in some of the corrections, some of the things when he asked Jack to redo a cover. He made the right call. So it's not a case of Jack Kirby can do no wrong. But not everyone's perfect all the time. Finals. So I feel every creator at some point needs somebody else to go look over. Yeah, have you thought about maybe doing it this way?
Yeah, of course. They always check you. So jump to the next portion. Let me just do something real quick. Just have a little commercial up here for folks to make sure that they navigate.
Commercial break.
Quick. Yep.
Do you want to find out what makes the professor do his happy dance? Check out the Old Timers Comic Book Show, only on the UCPN.
That was quick and painless.
There you go. A shout out to the Old Timers. And if you really want to know what makes them so happy, definitely check out that awesome show.
And
could it be old comics?
Before we go into the Forever People, I would just want to say I'm wearing this great Kirby t-shirt.
Yeah, great. Fantastic.
Hold on. Stand up again, brother. Where you at? Hold on. There we are.
Oh,
There you
yeah, excellent. That's Blacklight Kirby. Excellent.
That's fantastic. Now, if you want to get a shirt like that, go to the Kirby Museum website, and they sell them. That's where I got my copy from the Kirby Museum.
Oh,
One of my favorite shirts. They do a couple of others, and it all goes to a great cause, keeping Jack Kirby alive. So, so that sounds odd, really, keeping Jack Kirby alive. But you really are. They are keeping Jack Kirby alive.
No, as they should. I mean, he should be kept alive. Absolutely.
Yes. Yep, Rand. I love this shirt. I've got the others, but this is my favorite. So.
And those,
but yeah,
that's today's style fashion from Dave Elliott.
Yeah. Well, I'm never going to be today's style fashion or tomorrow's even. So.
Well, today
I'm happy. I'm happy where I am.
Which puts you in tomorrow's fashion, because those people who don't care, they create the fashion of tomorrow. Others are only followers.
Indeed.
Talking about tomorrow, right, in the future.
Let's go to the forever people then.
There we are, the forever people.
So, if you remember how we started with the first issue of Jimmy Olsen, this comes right after. This is the second Kirby book that appears. It's the second issue by Kirby, Forever People, #1. Superman is also in the picture. What is the Forever People? What is the elevator pitch for Forever People? It's hippies in space, hippies of the spaceways. These are the children of New Genesis. These are the kids who go into the world to see what's beyond the Great Wall. And this is already the downfall when you start reading this. If you're picking this up today, you say, well, basically this is Kirby when he's in his early 50s, writing people who are in their late teens, early 20s. It sounds horrible. It sounds horrible. The thing is, you need to get used to Kirby's dialogue. The dialogue he has for the Forever People, how these kids speak, it's very, very beatnik. It's very 50s meets 70s, what he picks up from the 70s. His own kids are of a certain age. He listens in what the kids are talking like. He mixes this with the beatnik poetry jargon of the 50s. It's a very stylish language. It's not Kirby as a bad writer. You think, oh, this guy can't write dialogue. It's very interesting. You have to get used to it. It's its own language. And what you have here is, this is the early 70s. Of course, you have a black character, an African. We can't even say an African American character because he's an alien. But he's black and nobody cares. It's never brought up. Never even mentioned. So you have these several characters here. One looks like a cowboy hippie dude. One is the intellectual guy. You have the black guy who's also quite the thinker. You have the brawler. You have the beautiful girl. They're looking for the beautiful girl who has been captured. So this is how we get into this world. And what's so interesting, we see this even more. It's more impressive when we get to Mr. Miracle later, hopefully today. Kirby opens his books very cold. He's just there, we start. There's very little information. And I've recently, when you watch these comic book channels, a lot of these negative channels, they say, oh yeah, in the first issue, I don't get all my answers. No, you don't get all your answers in the first issue. This is the first issue. You don't get all the answers. Also, what I like about Kirby's style of storytelling is he involves the reader. You have to figure things out. He's not saying, well, this is the bad guy, this is the good guy. You need to get into the story. Kirby wants something from you. He wants your time, your investment. And this is how he tells the story. And you have Darkseid there.
You got the eyes on you, you know? Like,
exactly. But look here. But look here on this little iPhone. It's Darkseid.
An iPhone for real. Steve Jobs, I hope you give him some money in heaven or wherever you guys are. You go Kirby for the iPhone idea.
Yeah, you see this? This is Kirby here. It's the iPhone in the early 70s. This is 71.
Still got my mother box here.
You'll need it. So once again, Superman is in. But look here. This guy here, this little guy here, that's Darkseid. Darkseid is not a giant. And this also changes very quickly because here Darkseid is a little bit more on the stage. But once we get to the second issue, Darkseid recedes more into the background. He's more the manipulator. He is not a brawler. Once again, we get a redrawn Superman face. This is not Kirby. This is redrawn. You can see that it's redrawn.
Yeah.
And this is also a great shot. We can't get this any bigger. This is very much an influence for also Superman when he sits on the rock. The last panel, we probably can't get this any bigger. It's very much an influence. And then we go to the next one, and this is now Darkseid as we know him. This is Darkseid wielding control over people who follow orders. Kirby makes a reference here to Hitler. And people say, "Oh, this is in bad taste." No, but Kirby fought in the Second World War. He was there. He fought in Europe. He fought in the trenches. He knew what this was like. And this is yeah. Please come in, Jay.
Sorry,
anytime.
I just wanted to make a comment about the issue 1 where Darkseid appears, and it's very important. Like there is no brawl. Like Darkseid
exactly.
get into a brawl with Superman, but that's by design. Darkseid, if you will later, we'll see more. We'll see some more examples later on. Kirby never put Darkseid in a situation where he would brawl, unless it was it wasn't what he was expecting, because he's a plotter. So he knew that they wouldn't risk Beautiful Dreamer's death by attacking him.
Exactly. What's also interesting is if you think about it, he is more the advanced version of Dr. Doom. Versus Dr. Doom, I mean, later you see him use his Doom box, but very early on, Doom is always in the center. He's always fighting the Fantastic Four physically.
Yeah.
Darkseid is in the background, and especially with Forever People, Darkseid never attacks them directly. He uses the Omega Beam on them, but that's not really a weapon. But he's not in Kirby's version, it isn't. And he's not attacking them physically. He's torturing them mentally. He's showing them his world. And this is much more effective. It's a much more effective villain. He's not attacking them. He's beating them. He's beating them psychologically. And he has his own people. And this is, of course, we know who this is. No, it's not that guy. It's Glorious Godfrey.
The other redheaded.
The other redheaded buffoon. But he is also a master manipulator. He's his spokesperson. He's Darkseid's PR man. He's his press agent. And he is on Earth spreading the word. And you see also how Kirby's artwork improves here. This is getting much, the pencils are getting tighter. And this is a fantastic shot.
Great shot.
I love this shot.
That's Darkseid. Yeah, man.
But this is also the schemer who wields a lot of power just by raising an eyebrow. I mean, if you create a supervillain, this is the way to do it.
Oh yeah, this is what makes Darkseid. I think since this he's been greatly misunderstood. Even in the Zack Snyder movie, we see images. Let's not derail that, but it's just the idea of him being very physical. The idea he's leading fights. It's like that's the last thing that Darkseid does. Darkseid does not get involved in fisticuffs.
And what you have here is this is the Kingdom of the Damned. This is one of the best stories. Dave mentioned this also in an earlier podcast. This is people are trapped in a what shall we say, Disneyland-like park, and some see the real horror, and others are just there walking around and don't understand what's going on. They just see happy amusements, and this is where the Forever People have become trapped. And you see the power of Darkseid's people. Darkseid doesn't need to be physical. He has people to do that for him. And this is, look at this. This is just fantastic.
I love that panel too with the raised eyebrow.
Looking like the Rock. You smell what Darkseid is cooking?
That man is power. And this is also seen, I cut away from this because Dave already talked about this. This is where a little kid walks up to Darkseid and the girl and says, well, basically you're evil. And the father says, oh no, he's just a performer here in the park. Everything is cool. And he says, oh, the kids, they can see me for who I am. It's fantastic. It's just fantastic. And who puts your heroes, and this is a great shot of Darkseid, who is Darkseid's torturer supreme. But once again, I mean, this cover is a little bit, this splash page is a little bit misleading. It's all psychological torture. I mean, if that wasn't bad enough, but it's not. It's never really that physical. It's a very, very intellectual book, actually.
There you go.
And I think,
Kirby.
well, that's what Captain. Yeah,
Every fight Darkseid has diminishes him.
exactly.
Exactly. Very good point.
If he has to revert to a physical fight, you've already won half the battle with him.
Exactly. Well, that's the major difference between him and Thanos. He is not the physical guy. And this is just what the people on the outside see. Oh, they see, oh, it's amusement, everything is cool, and oh, there's Sleeping Beauty. But what Beautiful Dreamer sees is the panel in the middle. She sees the monsters, and this is just, and she's not even a witch. She's called Beautiful Dreamer. This is in her dreams. And it's just utterly fantastic. It's a great shot. And also, what's so interesting, I mean, just if this splash page doesn't tell you this, she is the most powerful member of the team. She is not their leader because they don't have any leaders, but she is the most powerful member of the team. Kirby, once again, moving away very, very much from the Stan Lee template, where the Invisible Girl is basically that invisible. It's forward. And here we see the Omega beam for the first time, which is actually a ray to displace people. That's what he does with the Fiber people. He sends them across time.
Find their beams.
Well, he can. The Omega beams, they can also kill. They can wipe you out of existence. He chooses not to do that with the Forever people.
Exactly. He's teaching them a lesson. Meanwhile, also you see in the first on the splash page, Kirby has introduced a very powerful Asian character in the mix. Kirby's really building a diverse cast here. And it's just an old man in his early 50s who does this. No input, no internet telling him, oh, you need to be diverse. He's doing this organically.
Yep.
He's put it, and he leaves the one kid standing, and basically he is now alone. He has to figure out where the Fiber people are. What a powerful conclusion. This is so great. I mean, you need to go, I mean, if you want to experience this, if you want to see Darkseid in its purest form, check out the Fiber people. I mean, it's always, oh, you go with the New Gods, you go with Mr. Miracle. If you haven't read the Fiber people, it's only 11 issues. Go back, read this. This is fantastic. I mean, you can't recommend this high enough. This is really good.
He slaps the shit out of this side right here. Look at this.
Yeah, but just with one hand. Just like this, as if he were a fly. As if he were a fly.
Yeah, and he knows that Darkseid's not going to respond. Like, that's the power. He can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but next thing you know, he gets up, holding him on his shoulder. It's okay, but
yeah,
bro, you hit me like that, bro. we have a problem.
And this is also very. I picked his first two panels remind me a lot of the Infinity War, where Thanos plays with time when he meets Star-Lords. This is very much he controls everything. He's that powerful.
Look at this.
And this is when we go through time, and this gives Kirby the chance to draw Roman legions, and we also with Abraham Lincoln later on. We're going through time. This is so amazing.
I think the other distinction I would say that, and this is where I think Marvel Studios have actually taken from deliberately, maybe even from Darkseid in their cinematic version of Thanos, is we see Thanos in the movies he's got this elite guard around him. He sends them out to do his bidding. As I haven't read every Thanos comic that's ever come out, but
no. They're actually if I'm not mistaken, they're created by Jonathan Hickman.
Right.
These characters are created by Jonathan Hickman.
Right, but I remember Thanos as basically being a single. He is. It's him. It's not like a group. There's no group of them.
Yeah.
I think the idea is that maybe Hickman took it from Kirby, because you're right. There's always Thanos on his own, but when you go to the Hickman work on Thanos, he created these. If I'm not mistaken, please correct me, Chet. I believe the Black Order is a Hickman creation and co-creation. Then with the artist, and these characters are in the comic book pages. and you see them. Okay, they appear in the movie, and they're very, very nicely used in the comic. They're also very reminiscent of Zod's little army.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's a great cover, by the way, also. And this is also where Kirby starts seeding things like secret underground groups that go back to the Nazis, people in America collaborating with the Nazis. I mean, he never says it's the Nazis, but you get the idea. This fascism is a very central theme in the Forever People. You have these young people who present hope. They're a little bit naive in their worldview, and you have these older powers that always conspire to take over the world in secret. This is very much the theme here.
And you see it.
And it all goes
bullshitting right here.
Well, Darkseid's very much in the vein of the way that Adolf Hitler ran and the Nazi Party. If you look at people like Mengels and Himmler, there's Darkseid right there, Goebbels. So and again, we never, Hitler was never one on the front lines.
Exactly.
Just as Darkseid was never one on the front lines.
Yep.
So I think he was definitely sort of pulling from his own personal history and history itself for this.
I think there's also a fair part of Stalin in Darkseid, and if you think about what went on in the Soviet Union in the 50s, I mean, there's plenty of stuff in history where you had cannibal islands in Russia. They really existed, but people were eating it because they had no food. They were eating the dead. I mean,
they were eating when the Germans attacked. They attacked during the winter, and so many of them just literally froze where they stood in the battlefields, and villagers were literally going out hacking at the ice to get an arm of a German soldier out or a leg, and they were taking it back and cooking and eating it.
Yeah, that was. But then after the war, it was the civilians who did this because Stalin put people in charge of farms who were no farmers because, Marx, today you're a farmer. So the crops were dying. People had nothing to eat anymore because these people who were supposed to be farmers now had no idea of farming. So a lot of that stuff was going on here. And a lot of this finds its way here in this. I like the Forever People. It's really, in many ways, the darkest book because it's this juxtaposition of this very dark character here. I mean, Deadman comes into this book too, and everything gets a lot darker. It's just such an amazing.
But it's the way I think it's the way that
great cover.
Yeah, but it's the way the Darkseid was. Literally, he doesn't kill people out of what he wants to do is everything is a test. He wants to break them down. He wants to destroy their will. He's constantly looking for the anti-life equation. Yeah.
And
so
he's also pulling them. He's also pulling them on his side. He's not killing these kids. He's basically your struggle is futile. Join me. It's the same theme of Mr. Miracle in reverse. Scott Free breaks free, and Darkseid tries to trap the Authority people. So that's a great cover, by the way. Plus splash page. I mean, if you say Kirby was not a cover designer, his splash pages are amazing.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And here we get Kirby getting a little bit hip with the times because you will say, Kirby can't draw women. Well, I leave that to your judgment. It's Mr. Darkseid again.
Ooh. And look what's being teased.
It's the very last page of Forever People.
Which I also enjoy because they walk into the sunset. They get a closure. This is basically, it doesn't just end. It's basically, okay, we got our thing, we're going home. And this is wonderful. I mean, it's a nice closure for this book. You can. It's not like
they're not home. This is them. They don't know where they are.
Exactly, they're exploring their new world. I should have said.
Yeah.
And this is basically a very optimistic ending. This is a little bit of Kirby's pencils here. The beauty of Kirby's pencils.
That's from Atlas.
That's from Atlas. I didn't find, because I took this from the Kirby Reader. As you can see, I took something else from the Kirby Reader, which is, by the way, a great magazine. If you go to the next slide, this is Kirby's attempt at a porn comic. This is Kirby's attempt at a porn comic. This was for an underground comic. This is actually, I took this from because it's the best resolution. The best resolution I could find. This is from the Kirby Reader, but this was intended and if you go to the next page, you can see where Kirby is going with this.
Oh,
Look
damn.
at this. This is Jack Kirby. because Underground was the big thing. This is at the same time as he's working for DC. The guy bring out. They ask him if he wants to be in this Underground comic. Kirby is the man, and
that middle panel.
Yeah, bro, it's insane. Jesus Christ.
That's Mr. Jack. She's actually fully closed for our younger readers here. But still, Kirby was going there. But nevertheless, I mean, this was a pitch. He drew 2 pages and said, "Okay, this is my contribution. If you guys want to have this," but this magazine never saw fruition. It was never published. But these 2 pages still exist, and you can find them. Okay, we're going to the New Gods then.
Hold on. Even before we get into that one, I see this guy's taking a bite. I actually want to show off another show because Random Dude was here before. Check this out.
Rated R.
It
was a Red Band trailer.
Check that out, man. Check that out on our Comic Crusaders. Well, on our YouTube. Josh is doing an awesome job with his boy right there. So yeah, kicking butt. Get it done. All right. So we got some new guys.
And we have a great comment from Mr. Dave Elliott. Read them all at the same time. Yeah.
That was in reference to what Dave Johnson wrote about reading the Forever People.
Yeah. So you guys all see what he refers to here.
Yeah.
Better read the second time around.
Yeah, much better. Yeah, absolutely.
You got the black and white ones. Oh man, I would love to have it like that.
You know, I read them originally as they came out, and then it must admit it was a few years before I went back and read them all again, and it's constantly been. There's always something new. It always just. I never seem to get bored with it. So there's always. It stayed with me, even as much as I love the Fantastic Four. Kirby's Fourth World material, I think it's just so much came out so fast, and he hadn't even got started. Like this was just him warming up. This wasn't even the main. I don't think this was the main event. This was just like I'm just laying the groundwork.
Exactly.
So as far as laying the groundwork, I think the groundwork for the New Gods clearly started while Jack was still at Marvel, and there's been many conversations with many different people who knew Jack and Jack himself. I think, if he'd been allowed to be a real player within Marvel and had been properly shown the respect he was due, I think Thor as a character may have lived on, but Asgard and all the supporting cast would have probably gone, and we'd have got the New Gods out of it. Yeah. Like we'd have seen Ragnarok happen, and out of that, we would have seen the New Gods arise.
Exactly.
And
he was teasing it for the longest time before.
Yeah. I mean, I did actually in this presentation, I snuck in a couple of non-Kirby pages into this presentation to see if whether you noticed or not. But I think it's like here, it's that idea of Kirby for Asgard, Thor for Asgard. And then if you go on to the next couple of slides.
Ooh,
That's the end of the old universe. This is the New Gods are born.
Yep, that's how they predict Ragnarok. and and they even worked. They were working towards it. Yeah. The Midgard serpent arises.
Look at this! This is such an amazing shot. I mean, this is unbelievable.
It's a John Buscema page, actually.
Oh my god!
But still, it's excellent.
As is this.
So excellent. Yeah, I can see it now.
But it's Ragnarok. It's like out of this was could have come the new gods. Like, I mean, yeah, it's this is it.
Yeah.
Now this is still Thor. This is still talking about Ragnarok. But it
leads directly to the new gods.
Totally does. And you can see, and I think that
here we go.
Yeah. I mean, it's literally like turn the page of, if you'd followed Kirby over from Marvel, you could literally, like, in your head, I still actually kind of today, I kind of think to myself, hey, I'm reading Thor now. Yeah. No, that's right. It was Thor 200, Dave.
But I mean, just get with this. This is epilogue. He starts the book with epilogue.
Yep.
It's unbelievable.
Yep.
It's unbelievable.
That first panel is, you can clearly see it's Asgard being split in two. Like, it's the floating, like, that's Asgard being split in two. And it becomes the two worlds.
Yeah. And then there was a new light.
That's right. Led by Orion of the new gods.
Edited by. And
that's right.
Small, 8 by Vince Coletta, very small.
Yeah, very
Which
small.
is also, we haven't talked about that, because Vince Coletta is the inker on all the first 4 issues, all the 4 series for up to the first 4 issues, and then he got fired.
Why?
Because what he did, according to rumors, this is all alleged, is that he copied Kirby's original pencil pages and brought them back to Marvel.
Oh, say word, no way. That's a no.
So
it can't be.
Yeah, here we go.
So he was keeping the original pages.
Exactly. He was copying them and bringing them to Marvel. And DC find out and said, no, you're not working here anymore. And then we get a much better inker, Mike Royer. I like Coletta, but Royer is much better suited for Kirby.
Oh, absolutely. But again, it's like, I mean, it wasn't the end of Vinny's reign. Like, he still worked at DC, so he just wasn't going to work on Kirby's books.
Exactly, because Kirby was the editor, basically, and he was friends with Carmen Infantino, as we talked about earlier. So I think it was easy for him to get rid of Vince Coletta. And Mike Roy is so much more better suited, as I already said.
And I'm wondering then if, because Jack Steele was so different at DC than what we'd seen before, I'm wondering if in that case it was actually part of his contract to get his artwork back, because you would have probably known, you would have already known that his pages were walking out through Marvel's back door.
But what you're probably also going to refer to, I mean, for me personally, when I read this again, it turns at this, especially New Gods, turns with issue 5. It clicks with issue 5, and this is also when Royer comes on the book. I mean, this is no coincidence. That's when everything falls into place. It's issue 5.
I love that cover so much.
Yeah,
this is a great cover. I mean, it's outstanding.
Old gods died, there arose the.
An epic for our times. I mean,
see, there was talk, and I think they mocked up a cover of the New Gods, not starting out in its own title, but appearing in Showcase first.
I remember. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. But here we got the two worlds, New Genesis and Apocalypse.
Look at that.
And this is all, like, we're seeing the relationship. It's Orion being welcomed back home by his good friend, and look at, he takes off his helmet, and look, Orion's this wonderful, handsome chap.
Mhm.
And we get to meet Highfather, we get to meet Metron. It's all good.
But then,
There's the hint of war, yeah.
Mhm.
And, we've got, Metron then will go into talking about Darkseid, and he shows Orion, he meets Orion on Apocalypse to show him what's going on, and he's got to free some humans that are there.
Mhm. He gets his own team.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much, Orion has to go back to Earth now. He's going to take these people back. He's going to have a little tussle with Calabac, but he escapes and they get to Earth. And we get a
big-headed. That was the joke. Dodgy and I spoke about this in the Year Now Wepa show. And if you look at Calabac's head there, wouldn't you say that you hope his mama had a C-section?
Oh boy. Mm-hmm.
Boy, look at that.
Do we actually meet his mother at any point in time?
No, we don't meet. I don't believe we ever met Calabac's mother.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she probably was split in two at the side of that head.
Probably, yeah, that was probably the end of her.
Mm-hmm.
But we get the last page is that great shot.
Yeah, it's so bad. It's so badass.
Yeah,
and it starts with prologue. That's the last page. Isn't that cool?
Oh yeah, yeah. And Oh Deadly Darkseid, which plays in. Now, the reason I've gone straight to issue 7 is this is where the actual New Gods story, the history begins. Mm-hmm. It begins with this issue, The Pact. Because the thing about, you could be a great fan of New Gods, you've read it many times, and every time you go back to reread it again, there's history, the relationships every character has. It's only in this issue do you find out it's only in this issue that you find out who Orion's father is.
And look how brilliant this is. We learned this in issue 7. It's not the origin story in issue 1. Yeah. This is groundbreaking storytelling. You have no idea who these characters are. You have to piece it together. It's amazing.
Although it's heavily hinted at when you see when Orion gets into a bad mood, gets angry, gets into a fight. Mm-hmm. His face changes, and he needs Mother Box to make him look handsome again.
Yeah, but you don't know where this is coming from. You can only guess it.
Yeah, exactly.
And something to supplement what you said about the greater world of Jack Kirby. Look at it from here. From time to time, this kind of segment will supplement the larger tapestry of the New Gods. Thank you. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's definitely so much rich stuff you could find within. Oh, man.
Yep. So, Highfather living. He's having a lovely time with his wife here, Isaiah.
I think you could also sorry to interrupt you, but going back to what El just said, when you go back to these issues, and I looked also over these issues when we were putting this together. I mean, also again in light of the discussion we recently had, or I recently had in my Twitter feed about Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, and who created what always strikes me, but this is only my feeling, is that Stan always seemed a little bit embarrassed about these comic books. This was not what he wanted to do. He wanted to write serious books, so even though he never wrote a serious book, he wrote a screenplay once. And Kirby embraces this. This is his thing. He does comic books. And he takes everything seriously here. Whereas Stan will always sneak in a little comment, oh yeah, this is all fun games. Kirby, this is serious stuff. And if somebody took anything from Kirby, it was George Lucas for Star Wars. He didn't take it from Stan Lee, he took it from the New Gods.
Yep.
Oh man, look at these pages.
I mean,
that's amazing.
Here we've got Highfather. Isaiah's been ambushed. Now the character here doing all the whipping is Steppenwolf. People may know him by a different look. He's recently sported. But you know, this is Steppenwolf to me. And he's bloodthirsty. He's planning on killing Highfather, but he doesn't get to do it. He kills his wife instead. However, the act of killing Highfather goes to somebody else. You can see off panel there, the hand comes in, and now we find it's Darkseid. And again, this is Darkseid's character here. Darkseid sneaks up. He doesn't come to you from the front.
The Transformers, sneaky bastard.
Yeah, he sneaks up and just gets him from behind because Steppenwolf kept him busy. That's Darkseid. Darkseid played it so that Steppenwolf took the risk, and Darkseid comes along behind and just goes zap. However, whether it's deliberate or not, Darkseid screws up. Whether he planned it this way or not, but he didn't kill Highfather. Isaiah is still alive, but it starts the war between the big war between Apocalypse and New Genesis. And again, remember, this is we're still not out of Vietnam at this stage. So you've got, you know, and again for Kirby, who fought in World War II, it's war being escalated to a global level, and by global I mean throwing planets at each other. You know, it just gets the weapons just get worse, uglier, more violent. Yeah. I mean, you know, it's about war is hell. Like,
and there goes Metron.
Yeah, because what we've got is Darkseid playing with Metron. He knows what Metron wants. Everything is about, he'll give away something precious to someone like Metron because he knows that Metron will ultimately use it and will at some point have to share it with him, because Metron's someone who plays both sides, because he's always going to want something, and he can't ever risk cutting Darkseid off from that.
Yep.
He can't ever say like, oh, I'm not going to give you what you want, because Darkseid won't, like, okay, well, next time I get something like this, you're not going to have it. And in this instance, it's something that Mobius needs to build his chair.
Of course. And they go Steppenwolf with the dogs war, huh? Love them.
Yep. But this is a great sequence. They're going into war, and this is the first time that Steppenwolf realizes that Isaiah is still alive. It takes him a while to figure it out. But it's like, you know, let Steppenwolf come through. The leader waits for him. Who's that leader? The leader dressed in this red armor. And finally sort of reveals himself. But he ends Steppenwolf's life, but then the war just keeps on escalating. There's no end in sight.
Yeah, but you see Highfather still have black hair here, poor guy.
Well, this is you'll see where he gets the white hair. There's literally it's that we get very biblical. Like Kirby was very, you know, I mean, religion was clearly a big part of his life. I don't know if he was truly would go to the synagogue every Saturday, but religion was definitely a big part of his life and definitely influenced him, and the stories from it did. So it's very, you know, echoes of Moses definitely sort of, when you look at Highfather and the way he goes out and he's looking, it's that moment of where he went to the top of the mountain and he came back with the tablets. And instead he gets a wall with a flaming hand that writes a message. The source. May the source be with you. Or pre-Star Wars, of course.
Yep.
So his next page after this is we're leading up to that moment where, so the woman you see there in those panels, that's Orion's mother. Not Kalibak's mother, but this is Orion's mother. And here's where Darkseid sacrifices his son for peace. And in turn, he takes Highfather's son scot-free.
We'll see later.
Yep. But here you go. Like that last page of this story is, Orion being shown somebody who's willing to trust him, to give him a hand, hold a hand out in peace, not to hand out to hit him or hurt him in any way. So this is the reveal. This issue, this is the reveal that Orion is Darkseid's son. Now, I'm slipping into your stream for the next few images, Chris, because Chris,
please do.
Yeah, because I can't finish this part of the tale off without visiting Mr. Miracle 9.
Exactly, that's why I left it out, because that ties into the New Gods.
Yeah, because so the pact was, okay, well, we're going to swap sons, and that's going to keep the peace. And we can tell for 19, 20 years it kept the peace. But however, it was always destined to end. And the character Himan, who to me strikes a very sort of striking resemblance to Jack Kirby, actually, in many ways. It's almost like his character. You look at his character, the shape of his body, the stance. It reminds me very much of Jack Kirby. But he's the wise man who's on Apocalypse, trying to help. He's trying to, he's trying to make things better. He's kind of almost that guerrilla warfare.
Okay.
And here he is reaching out to Scot-Free. And he's trying to figure out, is Scot-Free, is he actually going to break free? Is he going to leave Apocalypse? And
what we should also mention is that he's under the tutelage of Granny Goodness, and he's expected to fit in, because that's why he has this very, very fashionable haircut to fit in, to be part of the group, to be a soldier under Granny Goodness. She's training him. At the same time, this is where he also meets a young Bada. And as it is with a young man, his fancy is struck, and let's see how that goes.
Yeah,
Why Chris chose Mr. Miracle, just because of the likeness. I see that.
Yeah, definitely.
But here you see, it's like, so we got this. This is also the first time we actually see him with the gadgets, other than just the gliders.
They all have the gliders. I mean, this is the advanced technology of Apocalypse.
Oh yeah. But here we have Metron's finally chosen, right, more or less chosen a side now. He's got his Mobius chair, so he's happy. He's working with him, and again, they're doing everything they can. They know that the ultimate decision to leave Apocalypse is Scot-Free's own. He's got to make it of his own free will.
Oh, look at this. That's fast stuff.
That's a great shot.
Yeah, right?
But
what I really enjoy is that Kirby goes back. I mean, this is issue 9 of Mr. Miracle. They've said that he goes back and shows us these characters younger. He shows us Bada and Scott very awesome in the first couple of issues, and then he goes back and shows us these characters younger, finding their way. Very interesting.
Well, it's their origin. Like, again, he's done away with, let's have the origin in issue 1. It's like, no, he's going to give you some. He's going to give you some of the ingredients, and he's going to give you a. It's almost like, well, you know what? I'm going to skip the appetizer. We're going straight into the main course, but you can have the appetizer later.
Yeah.
Which we will see in issue 1 of Mr. Miracle. This is very interesting with the way this is structured.
Yeah. But here, I mean, literally, the kids you saw all strung up on the previous page were all friends of Scott Free's and people that had associated themselves with him. One of them being, as you can see on this page, the girl who's had these shock boots put on and killed, that Big Barda was trying to save. But then someone comes in, gives him a meal, and here we go. Yep. But who was that? Who was that person? Of course, it was Hammond.
But that scene is also foreshadowed. If you and Dave didn't choose that because this is what they all do. This is they eat blindly, and that's why the ploy with the bomb works.
Yeah. Yeah, probably just happy to get a meal. But here's that moment where, now this is interesting. Now again, one of the other reasons I wanted this sequence in is Darkseid is almost like he wants Scott Free to say. It's like he's almost proud of Scott Free. It's like he's watched Scott Free get to where he is now. He's about to break away, and that's actually making him proud. But he wants him to stay because he's actually. It's like it's that duality of, well, he wants to get away, but because he's accomplished so much in trying to get away, Darkseid's proud of him.
He's in a way he's more the son of Darkseid than he's the son of Highfather.
At this point,
to Darkseid it is. Yeah.
Yeah. At this particular point, that may change the moment Scott Free leaps into that boom tube. But at this point in time, Darkseid's proud of him. Like, look at that line there in the almost the second to last panel in the previous page. He can take it. I'll not stop him now. If courage and bravery took him here, some of it was mine.
That's so good.
Yeah. And again, it's like, if you say to me like, oh yeah, no, Kirby's not a great writer, Stan Lee, it's like, no, this is great. Like, this is epic. This is epic mythology that just Stan never had in him.
Absolutely. I agree. This is on so many levels. This is so interesting.
Yeah. So that's it. So literally with Scott Free escaping, we're kind of back where we were in issue 1. We're into the war. The war's been going. Not quite how long. We don't know exactly how long, but it's been going. And at this time, if you notice, the title of the book is still Orion of the New Gods. Yeah. It will eventually just become the New Gods. But again, just as Mr. Miracle had his own title, this was supposed to be Orion's title. And which it mostly was. But I think it was just a bigger scope that the New Gods ended up working out as a better title for it.
Yeah.
And I love the language here. See episode 1. Not even cheering, not see issue 1, episode 1.
Yeah, excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
And he's of course Orion, so he has an Irish name.
Oh yeah, yeah. See that was great. I was going to come to that. Like you have Orion. That's as he fits in with like the other humans that he's taken under his care. When they start to go out, he disguises himself as a human. He goes around with a jacket and trousers. He wears a hat. He looks like an old style detective.
You look like a foot soldier from the Ninja Turtles right here.
Well, that's Desad.
Yeah, but like that, he looks like a foot soldier, bro.
Well, this is the first. I think this is the first clear shot of Desad in the New Gods comic itself.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, I think it was.
He looks a bit like he looks a lot like Maximus here.
Yeah. But here we have, well, he's mad, but it's it's like on the previous page, he's about creating fear. That's what Darkseid likes. It's like, yes, create fear in the people, like make them scared of me.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back in time, I mean, this is also when you started this discussion with the New Gods. I mean, it ties into Thor, but I think it also has a lot of the Inhumans in it. The conflict between the brothers. I mean, I think Kirby was already putting a lot of these ideas into the Inhumans, who don't really feel like a Stan Lee creation at all.
No, they don't. I mean, I suppose, yeah, if you look at Black Bolt and Maximus and Orion and Calabac. But Calabac was never like, he was literally like, it's literally like he clearly respected, and he kept Darkseid kept hold of Orion's mother, didn't kill her, didn't let her go, because he knew how important she was.
But I'm widely speculating here, but look at this. Mario Puzo's Godfather was written around the same time. You have Mr. Miracle is Michael. You have Orion who's Sunny, and Calabac is Fredo. You have all the same character traits.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh man, Mantis.
Yeah, I love Mantis.
Yeah, that's a great look, man. One of my. Yeah.
He always reminded me of kind of like Electro from Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It was like, it was like, yeah, he needs
the mask here. I mean, Electro's classic, but this is
Oh, not so much. I mean, if you look at the color scheme, very much so, but
absolutely.
It was more about the powers.
Oh man, check this out. Gorgeous.
But see, again, he's tying in. He's tying in Jimmy Olsen.
And he tells you right at the bottom which ones you got to see specifically to understand what's popping. Right there.
Yeah, he learned that from Stan Lee. Ah, so good.
The Sergeant pisses him off all the time, bro. I mean, seriously. You got to keep him close, though.
But it's like if you look at the dialogue, see, Desaad doesn't see the big picture. Darkseid does.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Starscream and that's Megatron for me.
Yeah.
Oh, the black.
And of course,
the Black Racer.
Well, again, it's as Chris was saying earlier, like with Jack, he wasn't listening to social media. He wasn't listening for cues to sort of like, oh well, like hey Jack, you need to use more black people or more women in your comics and give them a bit more equal place. He naturally did it. He was doing it.
Yeah.
And made this a very scary character too within the New Gods mythos.
He's also but he's also a Vietnam veteran. It's very much an influence on Spawn, actually.
Yeah. Well, not when he first appears.
No, yeah, isn't he like a veteran and he gets his powers?
No, eventually he does.
Okay.
In this issue, where we see him here. So here he's chasing down Light Ray. Light Ray, as far as he's concerned, Light Ray's time has come. He's I'm here to. He's the Grim Reaper.
Yeah,
he's the cosmic Grim Reaper. He's come to take him. I think.
And instead of being on the surfboard, he's on skis.
Well, I have to say, it's like I was going to bring up the skis. I mean, as we talked about, like not every cover he did was perfect.
Yeah.
Not every costume design was perfect.
No.
Right.
But it's a cool idea, and it's hey, the Silver Surfer worked with a surfboard. Why not surfboard? Why not skis? Yeah, maybe not. But still, valiant effort.
Cool. course, somebody intervenes over here, bro.
Of course, it's Metron. Metron, whose eyes are everywhere.
Yeah, they're looking more conniving each time he makes an appearance.
Oh, he is, but that's his character. He is conniving. It's all about other, what can you do for me? Yep. Now this is the sequence. So this is the sequence that you were thinking about, Chris. This is where he actually becomes the person who was the Vietnam vet.
Oh, right. That's the way it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like the Spectre in that sense.
Very much. Yeah. Yeah. Doesn't actually we don't get a really good reason why. There's a lot of, again, the thing I've got from Jack Kirby is the same thing I got from a lot of George Lucas, which is, when George Lucas first started talking about the Force, there was no midichlorians and stuff like that. It was just a minor thing. It was just there.
He did here.
Oh, that's the original. That's the original art for the cover to issue 4.
But if you go back, I mean, if you finish this thought, I mean, wouldn't it be best if Kirby and also Lucas left it at that? I mean, especially if you think about Star Wars, do we need an explanation for the Force?
Well, I don't see. I think I don't think so. And I think with what he was doing with the Source was along those lines. He never explained it. The barrier that he talked about that Metron was trying to pierce, it never got pierced in, or maybe he would do it someday, but it wasn't going to happen right now. And again, I don't know if he actually knew what the Source was and what was beyond the Great Barrier, but other people invented that after he left.
Yep.
It's one of those things where I don't really consider it a thing. Like somebody else may have created it, but Jack didn't. So I'll stick to what he did. The reason I've included this page is young Essak there, a young kid from New Genesis that Metron kind of takes under his wing. It's like he's a bright young kid, a little scared, but Metron sees some sort of potential in him. He could be maybe a budding scientist at some point down the road. So he takes him under his wing. Doesn't turn out how he expects, because he does come. We find him much later on in the New Gods story.
Oh, really?
Yep. But here he's just a fresh-faced young little kid who's just eyes are full of wonder, curious, and
so one of them has died.
Yeah. So here we've got someone from one of the New Gods has died. We've never actually met him before. This is the first time we see him, but obviously Orion clearly knows him. And we get a little taste of sort of a bit of Norse mythology coming in the way that they dispose of their dead. Like if you look at the next page, Orion's there. All of a sudden, a big storm comes up, crack, the pier bursts into flames, and it's off to Valhalla he goes. Except what Orion doesn't know is the Black Racer is there. And again, we never got to find out is the Black Racer like the Valkyrie? Is he there to take their souls to another place? We don't know. That was all to be determined. But now this one, well, I love this shot because we find that the death of Sigrin, that the god from New Genesis, what Orion's been going through, the Black Racer coming to take the the soul away. And here we have, hidden in an alley, just casually watching from an alley, is Darkseid. Not sending a lieutenant, not sending anybody else. Darkseid was clearly someone who didn't need a boom tube to travel. He could travel anywhere he wanted to and liked spying on people. He liked seeing things firsthand, but always from a place of safety. But it's that idea that he'd travel all that way just to see it firsthand. Yeah, so again, like, so here's the other thing about Darkseid. Darkseid was establishing something. He knew what we saw in Jimmy Olsen. We're seeing it here in the New Gods. He has foot soldiers, and he's hiring humans to do it, to be those foot soldiers. You've got Intergang, all supplied with Apocalypse technology. Because again, why should he do it himself? He wants people, other people. They may be doing it for money, maybe they do it for a multitude of reasons. He doesn't care, as long as they do it for him and they swear blind obedience to him. But it just shows you that, like, it wasn't about the big things. It's like if he was Darth Vader, it'd be about Star Destroyers and, you know, Death Stars. Darkseid's much more than that. It's like, no, there's spies. He wants spies. He wants people to stab other people in the back. He wants people to betray people, all for him.
Look at this cover. Love
it. This is where, as Chris pointed out, Mike Royer comes on. These next two issues are absolutely drop dead amazing.
Yeah,
Spawn, just like McFarlane writes it almost.
Exactly. Oh my God! Do you think Kirby copied Todd McFarlane?
Yeah, he might have.
No. Yeah, Kirby do that to Todd. Yo, but for real, that's straight up.
It is, isn't it? Crazy. But the Spawn it's talking about is a very different Spawn.
Okay, his name not Al Simmons? No.
But again, it's like, so here's one of those, a small interlude. We get Metron going out to basically the Great Wall. Like, here it is, the Promethean galaxy. And these are beings, maybe even from before the time of New Genesis and Apocalypse, people that have tried to find the source of the source. Like,
I mean, you just mentioned it. It's the Great Wall. I mean, this is HBO. Warner owns the rights to this. I don't know why they're making a New Gods movie. This is the next Game of Thrones. Should have made this into a TV series for HBO. What's they called? HBO Max. This is Game of Thrones level here.
Yeah. It totally is. If you look at, if you read everything that Kirby did about the Fourth Worlds, and you look at the machinations of Darkseid, even when he's leading to power, even when his mother was still alive, you could create something out of all of that, and it would be absolutely amazing, and it would be a cosmic Game of Thrones. Unfortunately, I think you'd need more creative minds than you'd probably find at Warner Brothers to do something like that.
Absolutely, yeah, that's right.
They're just not there. They just, yeah.
They need to fail with the Zack Snyder thing first.
Well, it's not only that. I mean, even I mean there's the New Gods movie is in production, and I honestly have kind of not. I'm honestly not. Don't have much hope for it.
Tom King wrote it.
Yeah. Okay. But I think, but if you read these comics, you can actually understand that if you actually thought about it, which again, I don't think they have the minds at Warner Brothers, the creative minds to do it. But I think if Kevin Feige was in charge, there would be a New Gods movie, and out of that would probably be a Mr. Miracle movie, an Orion series of movies.
Mm-hmm.
There'd be a Forever People TV show on Disney Plus.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I bet he'd probably actually do a Jimmy Olsen TV show that would take the stuff that Kirby did.
Yeah.
But it's a shame.
It is.
Yep. But I think like there's so much happens in this issue, from the Metrons showing you like what lies out there, the Great Barrier. We get our first tease of Terrible Turpin. Like if you go back a couple of pages, there's Terrible Turpin. You know, he's the policeman who we'll see more of in future issues.
And we also saw him in the animated series, which was great.
Yes, and in the animated series, he was drawn to actually look like Jack Kirby.
Definitely.
Again, a similar. You get a sense of like certain characters who say less, do more. That sums up Kirby. But here you have like what you're seeing right here up on the screen now is Slig of the Deep Six of Apocalypse. He's showing some of their powers. They can actually like mutate a shrimp, a bug, and turn it into a monster. But they've got life over it, and he's showing you they have death. It's the ultimate, like, this is war. I have power. See, I can do this, but I can also take it away. Darkseid's given them those abilities, never anything greater than his own.
Of course.
But as you see here, yeah. But as you see here, Orion's not without his own, his own abilities. His links to Mother Box and the Astra Force. Yeah. See again. But it's a mutated shark. See, that's what they've done. They've mutated the shark into a god.
So good.
What in the hell?
Now that is the birthing case for the spawn. Like the spawn was in that, and now it's free. It's actually it's set out. It's swimming free now.
So that's where Spawn's cape came from. Okay. All right, so here we go, another Boom 2 opening.
Right, so what we're setting up here is Calabax coming to Earth just as Orion and Light Ray are out at sea facing Spawn and the Deep Six. So again, this is just a heads up. This is what's coming. We'll be here in an issue or two from now. But, Calabax here.
Telling people to crawl.
Yep, but you see, this is it. It's like, Calabac and Orion may be brothers, but Calabac is clearly the, like, I am strong, but I'm just basically, like, a bit dim. He's
Fredo. He is Fredo.
Yeah.
And going back to the Mario Puzo analogy, Mario Puzo worked for Martin Goodman. He was one of the writers who worked for the magazines under Martin Goodman.
Oh.
So maybe he was reading comic books. Who knows?
Hey, everyone started somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Dave. Yeah, I mean, look.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Dave. If just like, can you imagine if Jack had 21 or 25 issues of the New Gods? Like, how much more he could have got told, how many more characters there would be.
I mean, there are also very conflicting stories, as far as I know, conflicting stories about who really cancelled the New Gods. Was it on why they were cancelled? Was it Carmen and Infantino because the books were not selling, or was it Carmen Infantino because he was envious of Jack's work? There are so many conflicting stories about this, how this eventually ended.
Well, I can't, like, if you're the guy who brings someone over to DC, because that'll be a feather in your hat if it does well.
Mm-hmm.
You're really, like, if it's doing well, you're not going to be the guy to cancel it. Like, I've heard worse stories, and I've actually, in my life, I've been part of experiences where, yes, I could believe it in many respects. But of Carmen Infantino, I think this has been brought up with David Spurlock a couple of times, and David's was a very, very close friend of Carmen Infantino's, and I think there was a little bit of friction from time to time with Carmen and Kirby at DC, but I think at the end of the day, they were, I wouldn't say they were the greatest of friends, but they were still friends and cordial about it. But the thing, if you go back one page, Al, look at this. This is Orion. He's ripped Slig's helmet off, and inside the helmet is Slig's mother box. Now, we haven't really covered the mother boxes, but they're each one is very unique to the god. And here's Orion ripping into the helmet and killing Slig's mother box.
Yeah, that's really shocking.
Yeah, it is. It's and you look at that expression, especially in that last panel, just listen to the dialogue. She's gone, Slig. When she couldn't serve you, your mother box chose to die. She loved you, Slig. And then he laughs.
Yeah, showing he is an evil little fuck inside. That ability for evil. I mean, look, he turns into the monster that he is.
That's right.
Like father.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that makes him so interesting.
Yeah.
He's hideous. Look at him. He's got a hairy brow, bro. He got that unibrow going on, poor guy.
Yeah. Again, it's the kind of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde aspect of Orion. I mean, it's a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde was something that Kirby clearly, he loved that book and went back to it many, many times. That's Spawn, by the way.
That's Spawn. Look, this guy's the Spawn before Spawn.
There it is.
The glory boat. That doesn't sound so.
That's such a great story. The glory boat is amazing.
Yeah.
Has been voted one of the 10 best Kirby stories. That puts it into perspective for you.
Yeah. Yep.
Check that out.
And it's almost a shame that Royer didn't get to ink that cover, and so Vinnie Coletta inked cover. But this is such a good issue. The characters in it, he finds this old man with his son and his girlfriend, or I think they're both his kids, out at sea. They've been shipwrecked. They were in a rubber dinghy, and they just find themselves in the middle of what's about to be a war in the middle of the ocean, and they've got stuck in the middle of it. And here we've got, they find this raft in the middle of the ocean, and at the top is someone strapped to it, and it's Light Ray. And it's Light Ray. Light Ray is one of those characters where he's a light character. He's a positive person. He's kind of like the flip side of Orion, but they're close. They're good friends. As close a friend as Orion's going to let anybody come to him. And and Light Ray is kind of you almost get a sense that he wants to. It's almost like he's looking for approval from Orion. He's getting into fights. He's not a natural fighter, but he's getting into fights to prove himself to Orion.
Yeah, he's like the big brother.
Very much, yeah. And that's keeps getting Light Ray into trouble because he's not a natural born fighter. He doesn't have that killer instinct that Orion has. So that creature there that's the creature that's controlling Spawn. That's what's calling it. That's what's directing it. And so what Light Ray is going to do is Light Ray is going to destroy it and rebuild it and turn it into a homing beacon so that it'll actually summon Spawn to them. Check that out. Which means they're about to have a big fight.
Like, thanks for calling them over. I appreciate it.
Yep. So they're going to have this big fight, and of course, these humans are going to get stuck in the way. Before they can do much of, yeah, but before they can do much about it, one of the Deep Six comes on boards and threatens them, kills one of them, and you've got the dad who's this has been berating his son all along as like, you're a bit of a chicken, yeah, you're never really a man. That person, when faced with this, his dad cracks and he saves his dad's life at his own. He dies.
At his own expense, bro.
Yep. And Orion will give him no mercy.
As he should.
But again, it's like, the look, if you go to the next page, the look of the father there, the look of his eyes, he's not even staring at his son, he's looking off elsewhere. Like he's
grief.
Yeah.
That grief. Like, this is it's constant with the New Gods. There's this big war, but it's hell. It's always going to be hell. The innocent will always suffer. And he knows what the effects of war are. It's not just on the person who dies; it's the people that survive them.
Of course, they want to continue living through the pain. Unfortunately.
Yep.
Wow,
that's amazing.
That Kirby crackle, man, I missed that.
Mm.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have to speak up a bit, Al.
Yeah, bro, speak up. I don't want to be screaming. I got a couple of paws to do today.
Yeah.
Look at this.
So this page and the next page, two splash pages, amazing, absolutely. Like this all builds. It builds to these 2 pages. This whole story.
There's such a famous picture. It's unbelievable.
Yep.
So good.
Yeah.
And this leads into the story we saw earlier. I mean, this is just the closing of the first act, if you will.
Yeah. And this is like, again, it's like this is just like Jack's just getting warmed up here. This is just, I'm introducing characters, I'm introducing this world, this is what it's like. And this was such a great story. It's the death wish of Terrible Turpin. Like again, it's Orion is a soldier, and he operates by soldiers' rules. So if someone throws the gauntlet down and wants to have a fight with someone, but he thinks they might not stand a chance, he's still going to stand back and let them have a go. It's about honor. There's a lot of honor in being talked about in the New Gods. A couple of times, Orion takes steps back, and particularly with Kalibak, lets 2 other people go into battle with Kalibak, and he stands back.
Yeah, because he's a soldier. He understands that.
Yeah, he understands.
It goes back to Kirby's war experience, I presume. I mean, you can only presume that.
Yeah, but here's this, like, I just included these for this nice moment where Orion and Light Ray have landed on this rooftop, and there's a couple of young lovers who are completely oblivious to what's happening and what's about to happen. Oh, no worries, Snowmation. I think you're only about we're about halfway through.
Told you about the 5 hours, didn't I?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's all about those human moments. Like, he allows time for those. They stop and talk to someone. Oh yeah, but like the pages prior to that, you got they stop and talk to the woman in the elevator.
Right.
But yeah, so this is Terrible Turpin deciding that he's going to take Kalibak on, and he's got a machine gun, he's got hand grenades, he's going to go for it. It's like he thinks he can bring him down.
Well,
and of course, he's quite mistaken.
Yes, he is.
to a certain extent. Let's see how the story plays out.
Let's see. All right. So look, my man homie gets up again. Come on, bro.
Yep. But Kalibak's about to like throw him off the roof. Orion saves him.
Oh man.
But look,
Hey, homie, you hit the wrong dude in the grill right now.
oh yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Like you just messed with the wrong one, son. Bro. Okay.
And then here's Kalibak getting a sense that like he at this stage he doesn't know, but he might discover shortly afterwards that Orion is Darkseid's father. Like he takes his club, he breaks it, and he's like goes, it would take all of the might of Darkseid himself to do that.
Mhm.
He's calling him a monster.
Yeah.
I did the park on the kettle black kid. What's going on here?
Yeah. But again, like any
boom. That.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And you could almost
But
see
again,
his head lift from the ground here, poor Turpin.
Mhm.
And he's
yeah.
still being a bitch ass. You're under arrest. He definitely caught that cop feel for real.
Oh yeah. But he's still like he hasn't given up. But then at the same time, you've got, you know, a fight that when Orion's fighting Kalibak, like you can tell, like there's hatred here, there's bitterness here, and it's going to come out. Oh yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, look at that. So,
and look at this one
They
here.
smile at each
Oh,
other, though.
jeez.
They revel in the violence.
oh yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And then he gets upset that Light Ray's taking him away, but that's because they're about to shock. But it was Terrible Turpin who delivered that blow. It was Terrible Turpin who actually, yeah.
Okay. He's hurt bad.
Yeah, hurt bad, but you know, he was a hero. But this is also, I can only assume, is the first time Light Ray's actually really seen the scars on Orion's face. And his true face, in fact, his real face.
Yeah.
Oh man, I like this character. Fucking crazy.
Now Bug is worthy of inclusion and mention because I think that this is Kirby talking about like the underclass.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these are the people that, you know, they're referred to as bugs here, but these are, you know, they take care of your waste. They take your rubbish away. They maybe pick your vegetables for you, etc., etc. But that's all. They don't walk the streets. Not in your neighborhood anyway.
See, when they brought Forager into the cartoons, I don't like how he talks. Because it doesn't feel like he talks the way he does in the cartoon. I don't know if you've seen Young Justice, was it? They brought Forager in?
I don't know. I don't remember those.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're new. I'm sorry. Yeah, they're not old cartoons. Sorry, guys.
What are you trying to say, Al? Al, what are you trying to say?
Guys, are not hip to the new stuff. Come on, gang.
No, you're old people.
I dig it. Al.
We're old people here.
But see here, look.
Alex will show you what I mean by Forager. I think that you may not appreciate it. You know.
Right. But they live underground, basically, and they live like insects. But what makes Forager or Bug, as he was first known, what makes him unique is that we find out that he's actually from New Genesis, and we never find out how he ended up under New Genesis, living under New Genesis as a bug. But we know that he has another destiny, and unfortunately, the New Gods was cancelled before we got to find out what it was.
They did do a comic series not too long ago, I think via the Young Animal print about him.
Oh yeah, no, I know, but I mean, that wasn't by
But
Kirby.
we didn't
Was
get the Kirby finish, yeah.
No, it wasn't Kirby.
No.
So it doesn't count.
Bro, look at this guy's face, bro.
Yeah.
Mushed up, boy.
Yeah. But as you are now here, look at the mood. Like, right,
that is so Kirby.
Orion's in a bad mood. Literally, like
that shadow, yo.
Yeah.
And, he's towering and screaming like, "Yo, I wanna mess homie up."
Yep. And again, that woman at first, she actually thought, "Oh, he could be a nice boy." And then she's like, maybe not. I'll take that back.
Oh man, but this is just awesome stuff, bro.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is all like this is what goes on underneath New Genesis. So again, if you think of New Genesis being this idealistic, fantastic, wonderful place, it's clearly not, because they're kind of like Highfather seems to be turning a blind eye about what's happening beneath his feet, and this is where
which is also Kirby. Which is also Kirby criticizing the hippie ideal, the new age that will come from this.
No, I don't think he was criticizing. I think what he was doing was saying, this is what happens. Like, this is like every there's always, no matter who you are, like, you whatever your ideals are, no matter what you say you stand for, there seems to be a natural order where someone has to be at the bottom. Like, and he's just saying that he's saying it seems to be you're always gonna have someone at the bottom who needs pulling up, and they're not being pulled up.
Yeah, but you have this idealized Highfather who turns a blind eye to this. This is the criticism.
Oh yeah, or you could say he's it's not that he's turning a blind eye to it. He's just so many other things. He's trying to raise Supertown's minimum wage. I mean, they haven't had a minimum wage increase for 12 years now. And he's doing his best to do that.
It's true. This is why Orion can't, trim his eyebrows. He can't put them on fleek.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this.
Great.
Wow. Yeah. So Mantis invades New York. Once, and again, it's interesting. Once Orion and Light Ray understand that Bug is from New Genesis, all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, you're okay then. It's like it's like
off his mask. They're like, yeah, look at me, homie.
Yeah. It's like, you called me by name. You, a lowly New Genesis Bug. And he goes like, yes, I dare call you Eternals by name. I am one of you. And notice the use of Eternals.
Interesting,
in the New Gods, Kirby references the Eternals and the Celestials.
Very cool.
And he uses them again at Marvel. Because I tend to think of Thor going to New Gods and Eternals as all one comic.
Do you think maybe mentioning Eternals could have been the next phase of the fourth, to bring in a fifth world?
Who knows? It could have been. Like, what about it's like it would have just as easily fit. The Eternals would have just fit easily into the New Gods as they did into the Marvel universe. In fact, probably better.
Yeah,
probably better. Yeah,
because to me, the Eternals, they're too close to the Inhumans. It's kind of like, you one or the other. Like the idea of this secret. They've been on Earth for centuries, but we've only just discovered them. Yeah, can only do that so many times.
So great cover here. Dark Side. I mean, Orion and Calvin.
Well, this is the
Again,
last. See, so again, this is
the
the last
abuse
issue.
that the side goes through.
Mhm.
Look at now, homie stepping on him, not bitch slapping him.
Oh yeah, but you see, it's it's with good reason. I mean, Dark Side isn't being a Desad's not being a good bitch today.
you know,
Mhm.
apparently. So
Yep.
that is funny. Like I would have quit a long time ago, you abusive bastard.
But that page you saw with Dark Side and Desad is foreshadowing what you're going to see later on in this story, because Kalabak and Orion are fighting, and as Dark Side understands, Kalabak shouldn't be able to take Orion on the way he is.
Oh, okay.
He's getting help. And he's getting help from someone close to Darkseid, but not from Darkseid and not with his knowledge.
Gotcha. Well, he manhandled Lightway right there.
But see, this is just like it was in the previous issue with Terrible Turpin. He's allowing Orion stood back and allowed Terrible Turpin to, like, no, it's your, as honor as a soldier, yes, you have first go. And Light Rays asked for the same. Now, what we'll probably find out is if Kalabak wasn't getting help from someone, Light Ray might actually have been able to take Kalabak on. But he's clearly getting help from another source. Yeah, no, I mean, I think, Dave Johnson's just mentioned about the Eternals and the Chariots of the Gods. Yeah, I think that a lot of what was the Eternals comic book clearly was influenced by Chariots of the Gods, and a lot of those, the idea of, and it wasn't just Eric Von Daniken, it was like there's a lot of talk and there's a lot of what was superficial evidence that, we had been visited in the past. And Kirby was playing on that. I mean, you literally, like, you go back to the Bible and you read the passage of Ezekiel being visited by angels, and that description could very much be seen as, oh, here's a spaceship coming down with some people with spacesuits on. Yeah. So so he's, again, Kirby took his ideas and influences from everywhere. He wasn't shy about taking ideas and using them in his comics. It wasn't like every single idea he's used was original, wholly unto him, and he never read a book in his life. Just the opposite. But it's how he built it. It's how he layered everything in. And which, and it's just, he built these wonderful magical worlds.
I see that. And here, I guess what you were saying before about the outside help, because how did this happen out of nowhere?
Yeah.
Now he's manhandling Orion, like treating him like, now that's.
Yep. Now it hasn't escaped the notice of Darkseid. Kalabak has shown incredible new powers. I fear for Orion. Interesting. What choice of words? I fear for Orion. Sire, our instruments register strange emanations being transmitted from this very location. And of course, who is it? It's none other than Desad. And he's just had it with Desad.
I'm done.
Because Desad feeds off fear. He's the one who's getting it. He's absorbing all those emotions. He's getting high off it. It's basically it's a drug for him. Yeah. He's a fear junkie.
Oh man. It's true. Calabac would make a great bobblehead.
Yeah. Yeah.
And check it
So
out
dark.
here.
So with
Guess who's
Darkseid.
coming? Right, yeah.
So
But look who's
yep,
coming here now in the midst
yep,
of the battle.
yep. The Black Racer returns. He's going to take somebody, and that somebody was Calabac. Well, this was so again. That was, Calabac dies at the end. The Black Racer takes him, but that was the end of the issue. Like that's it. And no more new gods, except for years later in this. 10 years afterwards, Jack Kirby gets to go back and he draws basically issue 12. And so they get this really nice reprinting of all 11 issues, 2 issues in each comic. And so the last issue has reprints issue 11, but it has this extra long conclusion, shall we say, to the story, which ends on a very surprising note. So I'm almost wondering, I have no idea, like if Kirby knew that issue 11 was going to be his last issue while he was drawing it, did he kill Calabac and Desad off because of that? Because what he does is he actually brings them both back.
And when you were talking about the rebirth, you see Darkseid doing that.
Yeah, but it's not the result he's thinking. What happens is Desad comes back and he seems to be cognizant of who he is. But we've
Darkseid, welcome back, old friend. The way he treats him, old friend. How dare you?
And then he brings back Calabac.
Oh man! But at least he was brought back, not born. So a woman's privates were saved.
Yeah. But you see, the thing was, both of them came back, but both of them were almost insane. It was literally like he brought them back, but they weren't. There was something missing from both of them. It's almost like this.
When you do a clone from a clone, that clone will never be the same because you're not using the original source. So they're going to be.
That's right.
Or you could say, their soul, if you believe in such things, their soul was absent. So they were never quite the same again. But Orion tracks down Darkseid, and we're building towards the finale. It's finally what we've been waiting for. Father versus son. And there's his mother. And again, you see, look, Darkseid's held on to Orion's mother because he knows that Orion wants his mother back. And he's kept her alive because he always knew that she was important for that reason.
Is her name Tiger?
Yep.
Tiger from West Coast Avengers?
Yep. Same one.
And there it goes.
Yeah. Now look. Now see, this is important. So what happens here? Darkseid has planned this all along. He knows it's literally, he predicted everything that was going to happen, or at least arranged for it to happen the way it happened.
Gotcha.
Look at the last panel.
Sure that story came.
Yeah. See, he basically had guards ready and waiting for Orion in that location, and they shoot him. Basically, it's a massacre. It's like he's become Swiss cheese.
Hell yeah, man! That looks exactly how cops treat some minorities, bro. Look at that.
That's it.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Holy.
Orion's a brother, man.
Right here, done deal. That's Scarface.
Yeah.
On in Montana, remember that last
And
scene?
then he falls into a fire pit. And that's how basically issue 12. That's that ends with Darkseid's son dead.
Wow.
That is powerful.
So everyone was probably thinking like, oh, how's Orion going to beat Darkseid? He doesn't.
Exactly.
Basically,
Which makes it so brilliant.
oh yeah, he gives you exactly what you wasn't expecting.
Mhm.
However, they also announce a new graphic novel's coming, tied into the New Gods. No mention of Orion, just, hey, the Hunger Dogs. And there's the cover. And it's in then DC's new graphic novel format. Or for the time it was. But of course, within the first couple of pages, we find out Orion is still alive. Very, very badly wounded. But it wasn't promoted as such. It was very, very much like you can see him on the cover, you can see Darkseid on the cover. But yes, Orion's still alive, and Himmon's been basically nurturing him, looking after him. But so has Himmon's daughter, Becca. And as we discover, and as Himmon has basically he's been completely oblivious. He's just realized, oh my God, my daughter's fallen in love with Orion.
How could that happen?
Speaking about a bad boy.
Look at that. Look at this page.
Yeah.
Flash. This is like
This
hell
is,
for real.
this is Kirby in his 60s already here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's
some subtle differences in Darkseid's look from what he did earlier.
Well, it's him drawing it a lot later, because, but it's also there's two versions of this book available. So there's the original printing. However, there's a later reprinting of the book that was actually done as part of one of the omnibus collections. They replaced a lot of the pages here that were inked by Greg Theakston and replaced with pages re-inked or originally inked by Mike Royer.
Oh yeah.
Which looks much better. It's again, unfortunately, like Jack was at a stage where he needed someone like Mike Royer, who again, is always known as probably one of Kirby's most faithful inkers, but he also knew later on how to tweak things. He'd inked Jack for so long and on such prime work, he knew how to just nip and tuck a little bit to pull it together a bit. I think that Jack was showing signs of what a lot of artists do at that age. Heads start getting longer or more squashed.
You could tell that in Darkseid's face right there. So I mean, he looks like he just shaved. He's missing his mustache.
Yeah.
And
again, like there's some of the rendering on it, the feathered crosshatch rendering on it doesn't quite suit the work. It's interesting. There's some pieces that Steve Rude has done where he's seen a sketch by Kirby later on and then kind of tweaked it and redone it, and they look great. I mean, Steve Rude is one of the few artists where I'd be like, if you were doing a New Gods book and you could get him to draw it, I'd accept that. He really does know how to capture Kirby. But yeah, so this is building up. So again, the New Gods, and the page you're looking at now. I love that page because it's Orion and Light Ray being really playful. Like they've finally become friends. Like you get like some instances earlier on where in the original run where Orion thanks Light Ray. He kind of realizes that Light Ray is actually being a friend to me. He's actually like, I should let him be my friend. And here where they're outright they're being playful. They're actually being playful. Orion swings Light Ray around. Light Ray comes around the back and kicks him out the backside. You know, it's you could imagine Light Ray giving Orion a wedgie, a nice playful wedgie. But yeah, so that's why I like that page. It's nice. It's a nice night one. Becca comes in with a drink for both of them.
Look at this mother box right here.
Yeah.
That's a great page. That's a great page.
Well, so that's the young kid we saw much earlier on that was being taken and flown around by Metron.
That's him now?
That's him now.
The hell happened?
Well, we basically get the idea that he got whether he was taken by Darkseid or he volunteered to come to Darkseid, but it was he's basically become a little mad scientist. He's become a nasty mini Metron.
Oh, gotcha.
And he looks a little bit like him.
But yeah, he's completely disfigured now. Again, it's like he's that's him talking about who he used to be.
Wow,
amazing,
great stuff, man. The back.
But again, it's like it's like the horror of war turns like almost like child warriors. It's innocence dies. And Jack knows that. Jack's seen it his life. Like, think about everything, not just the war, but what he must have gone through in just trying to make a living through the 50s. What must have been eating at him, and his relationship with Stan during the 60s. Because he nearly left Marvel when Steve Ditko did, and Steve Ditko left because of Wally Wood. So
Dave Johnson has a good commentary here about the Chariots of Fire. Eric von Däniken, and I'm sure Kirby knew about this. There's always the story that Kirby had these books on his shelf, and he took books for inspiration, and he incorporated everything into his stories. I mean, this is what he did.
Yeah, the story is that he had it literally right behind him, and so if he came down to his drawer in the morning and he was lacking an idea to draw, he would just pull a book at random off the shelf and start reading until something it inspired something in him. I mean, it wouldn't necessarily take from it, but he would let it inspire him. But again, he wouldn't read the whole book. He would literally open a book at random and just start reading it.
I want to say though that me looking at this panel right here, I kind of see a lot of Eric Powell and the Goon type of style here. I don't know if Goon.
I mean, this whole graphic novel feels very early 80s.
Yeah.
Awesome. I had this book too, man. Oh man, look at this.
Yep. Another collage.
And see, even in space, you could find a McDonald's apparently. Wow, look at this.
But see, here's the thing. Now, the Hunger Gods ends with Orion getting a victory, but that victory doesn't mean death for Darkseid. He manages to get his mother, and he gets away. They go off to New Genesis. So it's like, it's that he's defeated Darkseid in that he didn't need to beat him up. He didn't need to punch him in the nose. Didn't need to sort of break his arm. He defeated him on a psychological level. He got his mum. He got away.
Which is worse, a type of defeat for the type of person that Darkseid is, type of being rather.
Yeah.
That he is.
Yeah.
Who cares?
See, again,
him up? If you hurt his ego, now you really hurt him.
Well, you've got that shot. You've actually got that shot of Darkseid running to the door and baiting on the door as it drops down.
Yeah, right there.
There it is. See that second panel, like that shows you, it's he's Darkseid has lost it in that moment. Like he could have used his Omega beams or something like that, but he lost it. He's that moment of he's lost his cool.
It's also very filmic. It's all very filmic how he puts the camera. That looks very filmic.
Mm.
Can really see that as a movie. You can really see that working. Okay, that gets us to Mr. Miracle, going close to the 5-hour mark. No, it's only 2 hours and 40 minutes. So let's go for Mr. Miracle. So,
All right, let's get it.
how does Mr. Miracle start? The fourth book in the Fourth World series, and this is the cover for the first issue. Glorious cover, by the way.
Glorious, exactly. I remember speaking to Steranko saying that they thought, they say that they took after me because I was a magician and this and that. Yeah,
it is. It's actually based. It's actually based on Jim Steranko. The character is based on Jim Steranko, and you can see it in certain aspects. And by the way, if you haven't read Michael Chabon's fantastic book, The Adventures of Kirby and Clay, I can highly recommend this because it's Pulitzer Prize winning novel 10 years, 15 years ago. Michael Chabon is mostly associated these days with Star Trek Genesis. What is it called? Show called Star Trek Discovery because he shepherded the first season. But Michael Chabon is a Pulitzer Prize winning author, and he wrote this amazing 500-page book. Get it today, The Amazing Adventures of Kirby and Clay, because it's a look at of Jack Kirby and Joe Simon and all the guys in New York who created comic books.
Yep.
Exactly. Everything is in there. He creates this character. There's this character, this Escapist, which is very much based on Mr. Miracle, of course. Mm. It's a fantastic book that gives you all the background on all these. It's a fictionalized account of all these creators who created these wonderful characters. Can only highly recommend it. Which gets us to Mr. Miracle, the original Escapist. And this is the fantastic thing about. You can also check out my column I wrote about actually OMAC, but it has Jack Kirby in the title. If you go to Comic Crusaders, go to my name, go to Comic Book Confidential in the tab, and you could get to my columns. I wrote a column about this, not really about Mr. Miracle, more about OMAC, but it ties into the storytelling Kirby uses here. Because this is how we start. It's a cold opening. We encounter Mr. Miracle, but Mr. Miracle is an old guy. So is the old guy, is the guy we see on the cover this old guy? What's going on? We have no idea who this character is. He just shows up. There's this old magician. He talks about his glory days. He gets getting old. He owes money to some people. People are coming after him. Here's the new prodigy. What can this kid do? We have no idea who this kid is. And this is how the book starts. And the book starts, oh, look, this guy is really talented. But we also quickly find out he cheats, like every magician cheats. There's this great, wonderful story I also lifted a little bit for my book, where, do you know how Houdini got out of his chains? Do you know the story?
No.
He had his wife kiss him before he went into the river with the chains on. And she kissed the key into his mouth. Isn't that fantastic?
Oh, damn. Interesting.
Isn't that great? What Scott Free uses here, he uses advanced technology because he is Scott Free. He's from Apocalypse. This is where he ends up.
Oh, and
this is Granny.
Ugly lady.
Oh, there is Granny. Goodness! Oh, don't judge her appearance. We don't want to say she's a lovely lady. We don't want to insult her. She's a very nice lady. We don't want to shame her. But she is here. She wants her boy back because Scott was always the unruly kid, and she wants him back. She wants him back to under her control.
So, do we have an explanation from that point in time that he jumped to?
No, we know nothing. We know nothing. We know nothing. We know nothing about him at this point. We don't know he's the son of Highfather. We know nothing. And the story continues. The old man gets killed. This is, by the way, a mistake, but the way this cover was originally printed, it looks much better. Don't recolor it. It's a printing mistake. But this is very cool. Yeah, it's a printing mistake, but it's very cool. And this is here. Look at this shot.
Yeah, bro.
And we're moving fast here. This is the third issue. Scott, how will he's in this box. They throw him down this skyscraper. They're taking over there's a guy who influences people in the skyscraper. Everybody goes mad. Everybody goes after Scott. Scott is in this box. How will he really get out of this box? And out of nothing comes Big Bada. and we don't know who she is. It's so brilliant. I mean, we can go on YouTube, find 10 videos where say, "Oh, we don't know everything. What happens in the first issue?" This is the fourth issue. We have no idea what's going on here. Who is this woman?
The previous issue, that the block going mad, it kind of reminds me of two films. The Raid.
Yes.
Did you see The Raid?
Oh,
and
yeah.
also something that was also influenced by that, the second Judge Dredd movie.
Definitely.
Yeah, very similar. Very
yeah.
very contagious.
It's also there's also a great story, a Moon Knight story that made a play on that. On the recent one, they also copied that. But here's Big Brother who shows up, and she is a powerhouse.
And she looks awesome. It was the great design from the get, son.
Well, actually, she's based on two people. She's based, as far as her character goes, as far as their relationship goes, she's based on Ross Kirby. And as far as her look is concerned, she's based on a singer. I didn't write her name down, but she was in Playboy. And Kirby said, "Oh, I liked the way she looked." So he got the inspiration for her from Playboy.
So
Take this.
Everybody now knows that he loved Playboy. He was a little perv.
Well, basically, why was it perv? I mean, no. I mean, that was around it. There were articles. There were articles in there.
He only read it for the articles.
I'm sure he did. But look how powerful that woman is.
Yeah, look at this.
Because also, as we will learn, she is the leader of the female Furies, of the female guard of Granny Goodness, and she has fallen in love with Scott. And look how the colors are used here. I mean, this goes back to. I mean, Kirby was doing horror comics at the same time. I mean, the horror comics in the 50s, but he was also doing horror comics at the same time. And you see how dark this page is. I love this. This is, by the way, from the original. This is still original newsprint, and no reprint does this justice. I mean, this is the highly saturated paper. This is the dark colors. This is amazing.
Yeah. Yes.
And we get a little bit skin all of a sudden because Kirby is in the 70s now. Bauder is allowed to show a little bit skin as well. And this is the interesting thing here. He puts on the apron. And she carries the cannon just like that.
Yep. No, that's what I always love about their relationship. It's probably like originally, I think the first 20 years of the Fantastic Four, Sue and Reed's relationship at that point was great. I don't know. I mean, it went all over the place after that. But I mean, it used to be the relationship.
Yeah.
But Scott Free and Barders. I mean, here's two people that totally accepting of one another. No, there's no sense of one has more say, power, ability, stance in their relationship, one over the other. It's a perfectly equal relationship. Yeah,
they complement each other perfectly.
Fantastically well.
Yeah,
Sue and Reed don't do that. They complement each other greatly. Were you going to say, Dave?
No, I just think I think that again, it's what we saw with the Fantastic Four was they had a very long period to experiment, to change, to grow as characters. Kirby as a creator in the 1970s as compared to 1960, very different man, much more confident, knew his characters, he'd well thought out, and they came onto the stage and he knew all their backgrounds. They just worked great together.
Yeah, definitely. And here you see how quickly she changes and how ready she is for battle.
Yeah, and I mean, Barda was kind of like how I imagined Wonder Woman should be. So confident, like she can walk around in a bikini because she's confident in herself, in who she is. She doesn't care. She's, it doesn't matter to her. Yeah. You say something. Yeah.
Look at this cover.
It's gorgeous too. Look at this.
You can also see how this. You can also. Yeah, we're coming to him in a second, but look how much this also influenced Steranko. I mean, you can clearly see how big an influence Kirby was on Steranko. If you told me this was a Steranko cover, I would believe this. Okay, we're coming to Funky Fleshman. And wouldn't we know who that guy is? Funky Fleshman and Houseboy, his trusted sidekick. And look how he's putting his face together. He looks kind of familiar. I don't know who that guy is. Oh, look. And there's Funky pulling his funky stuff on Barda, who's having none of it, of course.
Yep.
Yeah. It's so wonderful. So actually, there's a story behind this. When this issue came out, Stan Lee shaved his beard off. Because he was deeply insulted.
Really?
Yeah.
So that was the end of the beard. Excellent.
That's how the Excelsior. That's how the beard
it
went.
looks very Stanish right here. Look at that.
He kept the moustache though.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. That's the way you do it, yo.
Yeah. Once again, we see Barda getting a bath. This is the 70s. And she's always ready for battle because she needs to, because she gets a visitor.
Now, I believe this was a page that was drawn and included because he got to the end of the issue and he'd realized, or someone else in New York had realized he was a page short. So he had to write and draw an extra page to slot it into the story.
Yeah, he did well. And the females come back. The female viewers come back, and look what Funky Fleshman does with his trusted sidekick. He feeds him to the wolves. I don't need you, Roy, House Roy, anymore. You take the blame. And it's interesting, I mean, coming back to this little discussion we had on Twitter, how quickly Roy Thomas is here to defend Stan Lee with this new book that's out. He says, oh no, this guy, he doesn't know Stan like I knew Stan. Well, the word Stockholm Syndrome makes kind of sense. Okay, this is ties a little bit into what Dave was talking about earlier, because what Kirby used to do in his books was he put in these 2-pagers that gave you backstory. And this is already cluing us in on the backstory of Scott Free, because Scott Free is the guy in the frame when he was a kid. This is giving us a little bit background on his leading to the issue where we learn his backstory. This is also such a great page.
But it was interesting, like the idea that Metron appears to him, and he's the only person who can see him.
Excellent. And they all look the same, but still he's different.
Yeah.
And here I see what you were talking about. Inked with precision by.
Yes. And look how powerful Barda's stance is in this one. How much power she uses. It's amazing. Also, I like the lettering, the font, everything. This is so good.
Yeah, they don't make stuff like this no more, kiddos. Oh, look at that.
No.
She's a very powerful woman.
Yeah, and look at this double page. This is the female Furies. And look how powerful and elegant they are at the same time. I mean, this is really interesting. And he's also very fashion forward here with the boots and everything. This is very interesting.
Oh yeah, bro.
All lady killers.
And this is such a great page. Look at this page. I mean, this is so dark.
Is the Joker that way he felt? I don't know.
This is his origin story. It goes back to the origin story.
Excellent.
And this is okay. We're coming to the end because we're already over time. This is Kirby introduces a black cast, and this kid is going to be the next Mr. Miracle.
Oh, this is what's his name? Oh my God,
Shiloh Norman.
He's going to take over as Mr. Miracle. And this is Kirby once again.
It was just going to be more like a sidekick.
Yeah, but eventually he became the new Mr. Miracle for a time. And this is quite interesting. I mean, Kirby once again moving into the black cast here, being inclusive. And this is the guy who created the Black Panther.
Wow. Yeah. Well, thank
Oh.
you, Kirby, again for being so forward-thinking, if you will, in
Mhm.
this time.
You have the strong women. You have the minority characters included. I mean, we talked about black character in Forever People, Asian character who takes center stage. I mean, Kirby was really going there in the early 70s.
In fact, we should have had a page, or at least the cover, from issue 18 of Mr. Miracle, because that was the wedding issue. That was where Scott and Bard married.
Yeah, but here you were going to have include 100 pages of the New Gods, so I trimmed mine down.
Trim down? You did not trim. You did not trim down anything. I just went mad. That was all.
I know.
We kept, I think we go to a good
What
place.
great.
We kept it at
But-
Yeah.
almost 3 hours.
Yeah.
Great.
But interesting
Yeah,
though.
but it's an excellent time.
Yeah, but interesting though. The thing about that issue of Mr. Miracle, that last one, it's pretty much the only time that Mr. Miracle and Orion were in the same comic together.
Really?
That's right. That's true. Yeah, yeah. What's also interesting to note is that we already mentioned that the other books got cancelled at issue 11. Mr. Miracle went till issue 18.
Yeah.
But it changed. It changed. Once we get to issue 12, it becomes more of a superhero book.
Well, that's because
a little bit. Yeah.
Well, that's because you see it bounced off New Gods. It didn't, like, I think Kirby understood that, like, well, I can't carry that story on. So that's why all the New Gods, like all the, Dark Side went, all the all of that stuff went. It suddenly became villain of the week.
Exactly.
And that's
Thank
what
you,
I
Dave.
think. And I think that's what killed it. I think that's, and that's why, like, the last issue was, okay, we're all going to go off happily ever after, because it needed. It was like a three-legged stool and two legs were taken away.
Exactly. But I also like it continued actually into, I think, 25, when Marshall Rogers took over for a couple of issues a little bit later.
Well, Michael Golden did issue
Michael
9,
Golden.
and then I think Marshall Rogers.
Yeah, I think so too. And that was also good. Pretty cool stuff. Not on the same level, but interesting.
Yeah, I think that's the problem, though. You see, Mr. Miracle, and I think it's why it couldn't survive by itself, was because it was Mr. Miracle, Forever People, and the New Gods, and to a lesser extent Jimmy Olsen, but it was kind of like it was building this world up around you. Like in those 4 books, it kept building and building and building, and you can't do that. Like you can't do that with one book, and
That's
not
right.
when you built that. It's like you built to that. If they could have saved one, I wish they'd just kept the New Gods, because that's more all embraced. You could have actually had Scott Free and Big Barda turn up in the New Gods.
Absolutely.
But what they did, the decision they went with to keep Mr. Miracle more, or put him more in the direction of a superhero, kept him around, because the first time I encountered Mr. Miracle was in an issue of Brave and the Bold. I had no idea who this character was, and he made several appearances there.
Oh yeah,
and they kept him around
because he worked by himself, and it was a shame that actually when Brave and Bold used him, it was always Batman and Mr. Miracle, not Batman, Mr. Miracle, and Big Barda.
Yeah.
Exactly, she was always in the background.
Yeah.
And then she and Superman turned up in a porn movie.
Yeah.
That was John Byrne. It really happened.
Yeah, let's not go there. Let's not go there.
Yeah, Mr. Byrne.
Did anyone ever ask Barda who laid it down better than Mr. Miracle or Superman?
I think she was under the influence, so she probably doesn't remember.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Which is even worse. Yeah.
Mr. Miracle, get it? Hey.
Yeah, that was one crazy ass issue actually.
Yeah, a double issue actually, because Byrne was milking it for what it was worth.
Yeah, he drilled down on it, didn't he?
No, he certainly did.
All right,
But
guys,
actually,
actually 3 hours.
quite a good time.
I have another podcast in an hour to do with an awesome creator. We should have tuned back, for a Comic Crusaders podcast. All right, I'm gonna talk to Richard Delgado about a new Dracula, a new take on Dracula.
And we want And we want to thank all our listeners and viewers. Thank you very much for supporting us.
Shout out Snowmation, Dave, Brother Kirby,
Snowmation.
Hey, Rand, thank you for coming.
Captain Blood of Kirby.
Thanks again for the T-shirt, Rand.
Yeah, that's great stuff for sure, yo. You got to send us your link so we can share it next time. But, so where again can they go, Dave, if they wanted to get that shirt?
Oh, Kirby Museum.
There you go, folks. Look it
Yeah,
up.
and I believe it's .org. I believe it's .org.
There we go, folks. So make sure you visit
Probably
the
is.
website. And
Also,
Chris, yeah.
Also, I was just going to say, if you like looking at Kirby artwork, go to What If Kirby. It's a fantastic collection of so many Kirby scans of artwork, pencils, inks, all in one place. I believe it's run by Tom Craft as well. So Tom Craft's very much is the man in charge there.
Excellent.
And Chris, anything you want to tease us with before we go?
No, not really. Not tonight.
Not tonight. No, he's not.
I already mentioned my novel, and I had a guy asking on Twitter when it's coming out. Give me 2 more months, 3 more months, then we will see.
Do you have a book? Do you have a book design yet?
Not yet. We will do that later.
Oh yes, because we need that ahead of time so that we can promote it and market it.
But I don't want to. We will see that. We're going to release the prologue on Comic Crusaders, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
Hey, look. Hey, so hold on. So look, for those who are still watching, and I know you're there, Captain and Snowmation and Dave Johnson, you're all definitely there. So how about this? We brought it up a couple of times in this conversation, and both directly and indirectly. Chris may be a little bit more on the nose about it in his references. The next podcast, shall we talk Stan Lee, Jack Kirby?
We should actually.
Because
that would be a great team.
We're not going to trash.
Subject.
No, we're not going to trash. No one gets trashed. No one gets trashed. But I believe that there's a way of looking at it and analyzing that. I think that I'm not alone in the way I perceive, Marvel in the 60s. What happened and what went on. But I think it'd be
and we should look at the collaboration between Stan and Jack, and also at the early Stan books with other artists, because that's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, folks. I think that's gonna be amazing. And right there, Snowmation is like, do it.
Yeah, we will do it.
Then we'll blame it on Snowmation. It's all your fault, mate. It's all your fault.
Yeah, Snowmation, your package is being shipped tomorrow, Monday. Apologies for the delay for people that hear that one last time. Just a little cash flow issue, but everything's resolved. So packages are on their way. So no worries. All right. And with that, please to make sure to visit ComicCrusaders.com.
Thanks, guys.
Tune in an hour. Thanks for checking out. Oh, snap.
The dark side is here.
Dark side says laters.
See you guys.
Thank you. We hope you've enjoyed this Comic Crusaders production. For real-time news on all things pop culture, please feel free to follow us on social media. For articles, original content, merchandise, and more, please go to www.comiccrusaders.com. Also follow along with all of the websites of the Comic Crusaders family. As always, if you like this content, please click like and subscribe to the Comic Crusaders YouTube channel.